with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy. Oh my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home.
Rise up, better asking spirit for the truth. Do you
Mark my words.
Jail light. Jail light.
State Patrol Colonel Christina Bogojevich, Champlain Park Police Chief Snyder, and Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley, as well as the Mayor of Brooklyn Park. We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost a dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents. My prayers also go out to State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette, who were each shot multiple times. The Hoffmans are out of surgery at this time and receiving care, and we are cautiously optimistic they will survive this assassination attempt. This was an act of targeted political violence. Peaceful discourse is the foundation of our democracy. We don't settle our differences with violence or at gunpoint. In the state of Minnesota, and as recently as last week, in the most closely divided state legislature in the country, we sat down, we worked things out, we debated, we shook hands and compromised, and we served the state of Minnesota together. We proved that it's possible, even in these politically charged times, to find compromise and adhere to the principles of democracy and civil discourse. We must all, Minnesota and across the country, stand against all forms of political violence. At this precipice moment we're on, this tragic act here in Minnesota should serve as a reminder to all of us. The democracy and the debates in the halls of Congress, in state houses, in school boards, is a way to settle our differences peacefully and move society to a better place. We're collaborating with all local, state, and federal agencies on a full investigation. We're committed to keeping Minnesotans informed as the situation continues. I assure you that those responsible for this will be held accountable. And each and every one of us are committed to making sure that a tragedy like this never repeats itself in Minnesota or across this country. I'd now like to turn it over to my
time, please. Again, good morning. Police Chief Mark Bruley, Brooklyn Park Police Department. The question is, how did we get to Representative Portman's house, and it was proactively or not? The circumstances that unfolded in Brooklyn Park this morning is that we assisted the Champlin Police Department on a shooting. That shooting was made aware by one of our sergeants that it was at Senator Hoffman's home. In hearing that very intuitive sergeant asked our officers to go check on Melissa Hortman's home, the representative that lives in our community, just proactively as due diligence to swing by. That police officer and his partner pulled down the street. When they arrived at Melissa's house, they noticed that there was a police vehicle in the driveway with the lights, emergency lights on, and what appeared to be a police officer at the door coming out of the house. When our officers confronted him, the individual immediately fired upon the officers, who exchanged gunfire, and the suspect retreated back into the home.
Was this an actual police officer or impersonating a police officer?
Yes, the question is, was it a real person or a person impersonating a police officer? It was not a real police officer. This is somebody that clearly had been impersonating a police officer, again, using the trust of this badge and this uniform to manipulate their way into the home.
So Chief Bruley, Janet Short, Pier 11, the person not only was wearing a badge, posing as a police officer, when they approached their victims, they had a car with lights and sirens?
Yes, the question is what kind of vehicle and how were they dressed? They did drive a vehicle that looked exactly like an SUV squad car. It was equipped with lights, emergency lights that looked exactly like a police vehicle. And yes, they were wearing a vest with taser, other equipment that would, a badge very similar to mine, that no question, if they were in this room, you would assume that they are a police officer.
Chief Bruley, I'm Dexter with WCCO News. Can you describe the moments after that played out? You said the person went into the home.
In case you haven't put it together or you just haven't heard at all by now, 2 state-level elected officials, Democrats, have been shot. Both the officials and their spouses have been shot. The female elected official, forgive me, I'm unclear on their name. So this is Melissa Hortman. Her and her spouse, I hope that was a husband, but her and her spouse have been killed allegedly. And another elected official, I forget this gentleman's name at the moment, but he has also been shot, and his spouse has also been shot along with him. They are apparently recovering. They seem to have survived the initial attack. They've survived the surgery, and hopefully they'll make a recovery. The alleged shooter appears to be this guy. Former political appointee of Tim Walz sought in deadly shootings of Minnesota lawmaker. Her husband had no Kings flyers in car, sources. Yeah.
And then can you help us understand the next 10, 15 minutes of, how we got to the point we're at now?
Yeah, briefly, although I'm just going to remind us that this is an absolutely active investigation. We have thousands of people sheltered in place in the city of Brooklyn Park right now. We are in an extensive manhunt involving hundreds and hundreds of police officers and SWAT teams searching, gridding off areas as we believe confidently the suspect had fled out the back of the house after being confronted by the police. Very briefly, after the officers had exchanged gunfire and the suspect retreated into Melissa's home, they immediately went up to the threshold and looked in and seen a male that was down, clearly had been struck by gunfire. They made limited penetration, grabbed a hold of the male and drug him out to safety to attempt first aid. However, he was pronounced dead shortly after that. At that point, the officers surrounded the house, got additional resources and SWAT resources, and then ultimately went in with a drone identifying a female in the home.
How far apart are the two scenes? About 8 miles?
I would say, yeah, somewhere around 5 or 6 miles apart.
How much do you know about, did the person that was impersonating the officer who allegedly shot these people, did they knock on the door and people came to the door, or the person break into the home?
Yeah, it was knocking on the door and asking the person to come out, and absolutely impersonating a police officer.
Do you all have the suspect's car?
We do have the suspect's car. Suspect is on foot. That is what the large-scale search is currently going on. I just remind residents of Brooklyn Park, I know it's been a long time, but those that are in the grid that we gave the alert out to continue to shelter in place. We're also reminding them that if somebody comes to the door and they knock on the door and claiming to be a police officer, please do a couple of things. One, call 911 and confirm that the officer belongs there. If they are a police officer, dispatch will be able to confirm that that person is a police officer. Also, we've informed all our officers in Brooklyn Park that they are not to approach anybody by themselves. They're to approach in pairs, meaning 2 officers. So if there's only 1 officer outside the door, do not answer the door and call 911. If it's a Brooklyn Park police officer or any of our partners that are assisting, they will come in pairs of 2 or more.
Do you know if the gunman said
someone?
I'm sorry, one at a time.
Do you know if the gunman said anything, like when he knocked on the door, did he say anything to like Senator Hoffman or anything? You know?
We do know that he did, but I'm going to hold that back as part of the investigation right now.
You guys did detain someone for information? Is that accurate?
This is a very large-scale search, so we have detained several people and questioned them, but we do not have anybody in custody at this time.
I know you may not want to identify that person publicly, but have you privately identified the suspect?
We have people of interest that we are looking for.
Michelle Griffith, Minnesota Reformer. Other than that, these are 2 Democratic lawmakers. Is there anything else to suggest that this is politically motivated?
Again, I'm going to hold back most of the information. This is part of the investigation to get completed. This is rapidly evolving, just occurred a few hours ago, and we're trying to sort it out. We have partners from the FBI, the BCA, the Henry County Sheriff's Office, and almost every suburban agency in our community helping us with this. So it's very complex and working on it. But I will tell you, when we did a search of the vehicle, there wasn't a manifesto that identified many lawmakers and other officials. We immediately made alerts to the state who took action on alerting them and providing security where necessary. And that's about, I'll stop there.
Chief, thank you very much. We're going to take one more question.
With the BCA, can I ask just, you use the word targeted, and that's kind of along the lines of Michelle's question in terms of politics, Democrats, Republicans. These are both Democratic lawmakers. You said the word targeted. So targeted because they're politicians, or targeted because they're Democratic?
Targeted by whom and why? This is a deeply important question, and just about everybody who's listening to my channel, you understand the who and the why pretty well. There's not a mystery about what's going on and what would motivate these type of events. But let's play dumb because, you know, we're watching regular people TV right now. And a shout out to Big Time. Thank you so much. The $5 super chat says, I am trying to understand. Tim Walz hired help, unalive the Democrat who voted against federal funding for illegals. Like I said, you guys over here understand pretty well. We don't really have to say all that much. Like, I'm not even trying to give a whole lot of commentary just yet. The things I want to talk about haven't even come up yet. It's all obvious what's going on here. But the thing that I think is a little less obvious, that's what I want to talk about. We're going to get to that in a moment. Hit that like button, guys. Thanks for supporting the show.
I need that money.
So the question is were they targeted? And when I use the term, why am I using the term? As Chief Bruley noted, there was a list of individuals, and the individuals that were targeted in this situation were on that list. And so when we're looking at that, as Chief Bruley said, it's far too early in the investigation to be able to provide information, but I do think we'll be in a position where we'll be able to develop the motivation behind these attacks, and we'll be able to provide more information as this unfolds. And so that's part of the reason we're using it, is I think there's some preliminary information that is telling us kind of where this is headed, but we need a lot more work done by all the teams that are here working on that to be able to provide that with you with a degree of accuracy.
Are you going to say how many individuals were on that list?
Thank you.
There's a rally at the Capitol today. Can you guys, is that still any advice about that?
Quite a few individuals on that list. I bet you they'll never release the list. It's like those manifestos that just disappear into the air, into the ether. What was on the list, man? Who was on the list, buddy? Am I in danger? Is the president in danger?
In the weeks since the assassination attempt, there's been a disturbing pattern from the Trump campaign that you probably haven't heard about.
Couldn't beat him politically, so they tried to bankrupt him. They failed at that, so they tried to impeach him. They failed at that, so they tried to put him in prison. They even tried to kill him.
He and his allies have been spreading the lie that Democrats are to blame for the shooting.
And they tried to kill him.
They tried to kill him, and now they tried to kill him.
There's no evidence to support that. The shooter was a registered Republican voter, but after a sweeping FBI investigation, it appears that he was not driven by politics, and his motive remains unknown.
I think it's fair.
I forget which one. Which shooter are you talking about? Was it the first one or the other guy? I mean, there have been so many.
Fair to say that we do not yet have a clear picture of his motive, but we are digging in hard because this is one of the central questions for us.
Conspiracy theories have been running wild, both on the left and the right. But on the right, this isn't just about obscure trolls online. This is coming from the vice presidential nominee, members of Congress, and Trump's sons.
Don't blame the Democrats for the political violence, okay? The Democrats are sweet, innocent little gays who never harm a thing. They would never hurt a fly. If they caught a fly in their soup, they would find a way to bring the fly back to life.
Who are media regulars.
They're trying to jail their political opponents. They're now trying to kill him.
I said that the Democrats would stop at absolutely nothing. And I've said on this show before, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried something even worse, alluding to exactly what happened.
They've done everything possible to try and get him and kill him.
Vance has also falsely claimed that Democratic warnings about Trump being a threat to democracy led directly to the shooting. And Trump, who has shared
Remember, and this is important. I want you guys to burn this into your mind. They blamed Trump for his own shooting. It was his fault. And, you know, really, when you think about the concept of political violence and America's relationship to political violence, the left wing has always kind of operated with a political idea at its core. Let us win or we'll kill you.
A conspiracy theory online targeting the FBI has also made that claim.
Remember the words they use? They are a threat. I think I got shot because of that.
Vance's campaign speech that Democrats tried to kill Trump,
They even tried to kill him.
got no attention from the mainstream media. But this whole pattern of rhetoric deserves a lot more attention. Security and counterterrorism experts I spoke with say that this messaging could fuel political violence.
His messaging fueled political violence. Me talking about how you are probably going to kill me one day is fueling political violence. I don't understand. I'm really struggling here. True Hype, you are obviously struggling too. He says with the $2 super chat, they shook the soda and blamed you for it exploding. I know, bro. I know. I didn't even touch the soda. I don't even drink grape soda.
As we head toward the election. And experts say that political leaders really need to call it out as wrong and dangerous. In fact, J.D. Vance himself once warned about Trump and inflammatory rhetoric.
My worry with Trump, and one of the complaints that I raised during the campaign, is that political rhetoric actually really matters.
Political rhetoric really matters. Political rhetoric really matters. That's what I'm told by wise people who know better.
Called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back. You make sure they know it's not there. Called out on this.
You know what's interesting, and we're going to get into the mindset thing in a little bit, but the Democrats really do envision themselves as the captains of a heroic struggle. Like, you know how, especially like with the left wing, there's this kind of running joke about the left right now. They kind of process everything through the Disney lens, the Star Wars lens. There was a clip going around with Vosh recently, like he can only process the world through the good guys and the bad guys of a Star Wars movie or something like that. And what they don't really understand is that in the world of epic heroic struggles of light versus dark, you are the orcs now. The left wing represent the orcs. They are the ugly things that are gonna destroy and burn all of the beautiful civilization that we've built up. You hate the elves, you hate the hobbits, you hate the world of men, and you want it to all burn under the eye of Sauron. And in your mind, you are the hero. And that's what makes you dangerous. And that's why you must be vanquished.
Rhetoric about a constant drumbeat of heated language. Well, as I'm sure everyone watching expected, we need to show you some of their own words.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and
Hey, you know, thank you to the Democrats for forcing Trump to create something like this. Trump is the modern media president. You guys, nobody would know this really unless you're a history buff, but because it's well before our age. When Kennedy first came along, there was a pivotal moment in the Kennedy debate, well, in the Kennedy campaign. He was running against, I think it was LBJ actually. And LBJ at the time was the stronger politician on all count, by anybody's judgment. LBJ should have won. And there was a pivotal moment that happened on screen. It was a debate. I think maybe one of the first televised presidential debates, maybe the first. And Kennedy killed the camera. He just ate it up. And you know, you've seen pictures of Kennedy, you know, a photogenic white guy on the boat with Jackie O, or even with Marilyn Monroe, or, you know, rumors allegedly. And the thing is, when people saw Kennedy next to LBJ, they voted with their eyes and their ears, because they, you know, you had to listen too. But the visual thing, the media thing, was really hitting its stride at that point. Modern media was kind of really born around that time. You know, the advertisers going crazy, the Mad Men era. And Kennedy at that time, he kind of mastered that at that moment. And so now, all these generations later, you have Trump in that same pocket where he really understands how to own the media. And so because they put him on trial, they forced him, or his team rather, to put out this burning montage of Democrat violence. And to be fair, I don't even know that they like cut and edited the video themselves. They probably just sourced it on the internet, because there's already a clip on the internet exactly like this. I was going to play that one, but I got this one. It's a little bit longer. And they probably just found it on the internet, but that's kind of the thing. They are adept in modern media in a way that the liberals are unaccustomed to. They are not ready for this type of attack. And a shout out to Big Time with the $20 super chat. He says, this is similar to Dave Portnoy and the Arab student who put the sign in his store. Quote, I just tried to get you kicked out of school, debank you, and get you fired from every job forever. Why do you hate me, guy? Yet, like, bro, as if ass whippings ever fell from the sky. 109 times an ass whooping just fell from the sky. Could you imagine 109 ass whoopings just falling randomly from the sky, just hands and feet just falling from the sky randomly? It doesn't really happen that way. It doesn't really happen that way. You know why I said it the way I said it, bro. You know, we're trying to run a clean, marketable ship here. I have to tell jokes that the algorithm can't process. The algorithm is smarter than you. Skynet is learning. Skynet is learning at an exponential rate. But shout out to Big Time for the $20 super chat. Thank you, man. Big Time supporter, man. Be like Big Time, y'all. Smash that super chat button for me. Hulk! Smash!
Smash you! You make Hulk angry. You not like Hulk angry. Hulk no like fighting girls.
About a constant drumbeat of heated language. Well, as I'm sure everyone watching expected, we need to show you some of their own words.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're gonna go in there, we're gonna impeach the
This is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
And there's more.
I promise to fight every single day. One, I'm a fighter and I'm relentless, but I'm a fighter and I'm relentless. A fighter and I'm relentless. I will fight like hell.
But the way I see it now is that we pick ourselves up and we fight back. That's what I think it's all about. We stand up and we fight back. We do not back down. We do not compromise, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You can either lie down, you can whimper, you can pull up in a ball, you can decide to move to Canada, or you can stand your ground and fight back. And that's what it's about. We do fight back, but we are going to fight back. We are not turning this country over to what Donald Trump has sold. We are just not. Look, people are upset and they're right to be upset. Now we can whimper, we can whine, or we can fight back. Me, I'm here to fight back. I'm here to fight back because we will not forget. We do not want to forget. We will use that vision to make sure that we fight harder, we fight tougher, and we fight more passionately than ever. We still have a fight on our hands. Fight hard for the changes Americans are demanding. Get in the fight. Winning the fight. Fighting. He's fighting. We'll use every tool possible to fight for this change. We'll fight to fight fighting hard. Serious about fighting and fight. We got to get on our front foot and fight back. Problems, we call them out and we fight back. I'm in this fight. I am fighting. Get in this fight. Get in this fight. Get in this fight. And fighting, we all need to be in the fight. We all need to stay in the fight. We stay in this fight. We fought back. I am not afraid of a fight. I am in this fight all the way. You don't get what you don't fight for. Our fight. We are in this fight for our lives. This is the fight of our lives.
But we are going to make sure that this fight does not end tonight.
This is a fight for our lives, the lives of our friends and family members and neighbors. It is a fight, and it is a fight that we're going to work to make sure continues. It's a fight. It is a fight. It is a fight, and that's what this fight is for.
Well, I'm wired to fight anyone who isn't doing their job for us. I'm John Tester, and you're damn right.
A lot of fighting supposed to happen. Lots and lots of fighting. American Man with the $2 super chat, he says, all I hear is mostly peaceful language. Don't you? Yeah, sounds like a lot of peaceful talk. Lots of peace. That's what the Democrats are about. They're peaceful. They're happy. They're gay. They're peaceful. And hold on. Where's that other one at? Big Time with the $5 super chat. He says Portnoy can gargle Tide Pods. He has donated $100K to the Democrats who have imported 10,000 Muslims into Pennsylvania. Talk about no self-awareness. Yeah, and you know, his people have communities up there in the mountains too. Yeah. There's, they're small, but they're there. And they will jihad in the mountains. Irony, bro. I'm telling you, so much irony. And right now, we're talking about this political attack that happened today, and the Democrats desperately want to blame any and all political violence on the right wing. Even when a Democrat kills somebody, it's still right wing violence allegedly somehow.
Good morning, Colonel Christina Bogoyevich with the Minnesota State Patrol. Given the targeted shootings of state lawmakers that happened overnight, we are asking the public to not attend today's planned demonstrations across Minnesota out of an abundance of caution. I'll stand for any questions.
Are there reasons to believe that these events were also targeted by the person in the manifesto in the car?
We don't have any direct links. However, there were some flyers that said no kings within the suspect vehicle. And as we know, the planned events throughout the state of Minnesota today is a no kings event.
Still no update on the status of the suspect?
I don't have any information on the ongoing investigation right now.
On the list of targets, for lack of a better term, are all of the people on the list, have they all been notified, and do they have law enforcement presence with them?
Again, that is part of the investigation right now, so I'm not going to answer those. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, as I mentioned, we're getting to investigatory information. I'll leave that to Superintendent Evans.
Yeah, and good afternoon again, everyone, or good morning. Drew Evans, Superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension.
Superintendent, can we have it quiet out there so everybody can hear? Thank you.
What I wanted to note, though, is part of this, the references, the individual that is a person of interest that we've talked about, or individuals, are not in custody at this time. And so the reference materials that were inside of the vehicle that we saw, we have no understanding that any of the No Kings events would be targeted, but we also find it of interest to the public that these would be in there, and we want to alert everybody until we do that. Because this is such an active investigation with information not knowing right now, we feel it's an obligation to all of you and the public across the state of Minnesota to alert you of it, and that's why the Colonel made the notation of recommending people don't go today. But the individuals are not in custody yet, and so we want to make sure, as that very active manhunt is underway and continues, that we make sure that we're sharing that, and that's part of why we're making the recommendation. As to that investigation and the list, we are working through that now and talking to individuals, and we'll continue to. What I would say with the list is there's a large number of people. That's all I can say about it. We will work through all of that, what the motivations of this are, and we'll provide that as you can. This is really a public safety announcement for everybody so that we can make sure people are informed and make safe decisions throughout the day.
Detroit 313, shout out to you. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Get out the way, yo. Get out the way, yo. 2 Democrat state senators just got shot. Little woo past the Mac and let me hit him in his back. Little accident murderer, because I ain't never heard of you. Did I get that right? It's been a while. It's been a minute since we hit him up over here. Right now, the Democrats, well, let me rephrase that. The Democrats' media apparatus, they are attempting to point the blame on the Republicans, because what else can they do?
Given this is also not a normal question, because I'm going to ask it about the Department of Justice, which heretofore, prior to this administration, it's always been held that the Department of Justice is an apolitical body. Do you see it as such now? And if you don't, the fact that these are 2 Democratic lawmakers that have been attacked, one killed and one right now fighting for his life in a hospital after being shot multiple times, do you have any doubt, any concern that because of political differences, biases, this will not be addressed the way it should be?
It should be apolitical, right? That's what we have seen from Republican and Democratic administrations.
Why does it seem like, and listen, put a 1 in the chat if you've seen this as well. 90, maybe 99% of black men on cable news are obviously or suspected of homosexuality. Why? Why does it seem like that's the preferred job for gay men in the media? Just put them on cable news. Well, let me not even say that's the preferred job, but why does cable news only like black men if they're gay? I think that's a better way to frame it. Why does cable news only like black men if they're gay? Do gay black men like spike the ratings or something? Or are people more willing to absorb the propaganda if it's coming from a gay black man? Are gay black men more telegenic? Like, what's the math behind this?
Until this one. Right now, Donald Trump has in place people who are more loyal to him than they are to the Constitution and the rule of law. And what really, if I can just rewind the tape, if I can, just 4 months ago, we saw this president pardon violent January 6 offenders, people who were convicted.
1,500 of them.
1,500. He just pardoned them. That, to me, normalized political violence. These are people, Alex, that he summoned to Washington. He told them, come to D.C. We'll be wild, he says in a tweet. And they come to Washington at his behest. They come with their zip ties. They come with their weapons. They come with their bear spray. And he tells them to march down to the Capitol and to fight like hell. And
so 2 Democrat state lawmakers have been shot, 1 killed. Both of their spouses also shot, 1 killed. A couple is lying dead right now. The alleged suspect is a political appointee of Tim Walz. So this is all Democrat blue on blue violence, in-house thing, right? Gang stuff. And somehow it's because of Trump at the rally a couple of years ago.
they do exactly that until he tells them to stop. And so now he gets back in office and he pardons them. That, to me,
he never told them to start. He never told them to stop. Had nothing to do with him.
Is the normalization of political violence. And
I can understand why you say it that way. Absolutely.
When we first learned about this story was our investigative reporter, AJ Legault. People have been reaching out to him this morning saying, do you know anything about this? He's deeply sourced and is joining us now on the phone with some new information we understand. AJ?
Yeah, hi, Julie. I have confirmed through sources that a man named Vance Bolter is a suspect or person of interest that they are looking for in connection with this shooting that matches up with what the Associated Press is also reporting. But that's what my sources are telling me. And looking up quickly through some public records, he did serve on the governor's workforce development board. It looks like he was appointed back in 2016 by Governor Dayton, and so far I'm seeing him still listed as of 2020 as serving on the board as a public member. Looks like he was connected with some business in St. Paul, and that's what I can confirm right now.
And so to be clear, AJ, he was appointed by Dayton, but then still would have been serving on that board under Walz.
Yeah, that is correct. A lot of times with what happens with these boards is that if someone wants to stay on, even if they were appointed by a previous governor, they let them stay on if they're interested. Anyone willing to do some of this unpaid volunteer work, is welcomed.
57 years old, we understand. We know the suspect.
I do not know if he was still on any sort of government board. So far I'm starting to do some research on seeing him listed as of 2020. But right now, as we said, we can confirm that he is someone that law enforcement is looking for in connection with the shootings this morning.
Well, I'm wondering, I'd been trying earlier to get on his social media accounts. It looks like at least his X account has been scrubbed. Have you had any luck on that front?
I have come across him on LinkedIn and also finding references to him on government documents, searching for him online. Anything that is related to the Minnesota state government. Those records usually you can find, and I'm seeing those. Some family members posted on social media as well, but I don't think we know quite enough yet about him, about any potential motivations to really speak to that.
Did your law enforcement sources give you any indication why they believe it's him?
No.
Just said this is the
I
person
cannot
they're
tell
looking
you anything beyond that. This is the person that they are looking for. But as we know, that vehicle that they found outside of Melissa Hortman's home after law enforcement engaged in a shootout with a gun, he escaped. That's where, in that vehicle, we know they found the list of other people. It's being described as a hit list. And you can imagine there was other identification in that vehicle, like most of us have in our glove box.
Right. Well, a man of the same picture, AJ, has been in the leadership team of a company called Praetorian Security Services. It's a residential security service company. According to the description and the similar picture of this man on this website online, he is named as the director of security patrols for this security company. He is named as Dr. Vance Bolter, who was involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, the Middle East, including the West Bank. So it looks like, according to this website, he may or may not have history with being a security officer in a privatized section.
We're just getting word right now to AJ that they're
Really? A private military contractor? Really? Is that what I'm hearing? Put a 1 in the chat if your phone just started glowing. This whole thing is glowing now. Everything about this is it's radiating. My laptop is levitating. It's glowing and it's floating off the table right now. This whole thing is glowing. Really? Did I just hear that correctly?
Who was involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, the Middle East, including in the leadership team of a company called Praetorian Security Services. It's a residential security service company.
Oh my God, that sounds like I don't even want to say those 3 letters because it's probably not the CIA. It's probably something even more secret than the CIA. It's like literally the Mission Impossible team. It's the IMF.
Side of Melissa Hortman's home after law enforcement engaged in a shootout with a gun, he escaped. That's where, in that vehicle, we know they found the list of other people. It's being described as a hit list. And you can imagine there was other identification in that vehicle, like most of us have in our glove box.
Right. Well, a man of the same picture, AJ, has been in the leadership team of a company called Praetorian Security Services. It's a residential security service.
The leadership team of a company called the Praetorian Security. He is a goddamn Roman guard.
AJ has been in the leadership team of a company called Praetorian Security Services. It's a residential security service company. According to the description and the similar picture of this man on this website online, he is named.
And let me read these super chats before we get too far away from him. Shout out to the Midwest Request with the $2 super chat. He says, "We have reached the crescendo moment. Good luck." Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we are definitely past. We have crossed the Rubicon, apparently.
This makes Jim Crow look like Jim Eagle.
Make it stop. Make the hurt stop, please. Like,
you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
And let me see, there was another one. The Midwest Request with another $2 super chat. He says, I feel retarded for thinking peace was an option. Brother, have you heard the good news about right-wing fascism? You know, I'm a representative of the Church of Misogyny, and I'm here to bring you the good news, brother. I am here to bring you the good news. There is a tried and true, proven solution to the troubles that are facing us in the near future. There is a guy. There was a man. There was a man. He was the John Galt of Germany. He was. You guys familiar with Ayn Rand? Atlas Shrugged. There was a man. He was the John Galt of Germany, and he understood what it took to get it done. They don't want you to talk about that guy.
Named as the director of security patrols for this security company. He is named as Dr. Vance Bolter, who was involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, the Middle East, including the West Bank. So it looks like, according to this website, he may or may not have history with being a security officer in a privatized section.
We're just getting word right now to AJ that they're removing the suspect's car from the scene right now. We're trying to get that video turned around for our viewers, but it apparently says police on the plates.
It's a
American man with the $2 says, this is why they stopped the John Wick franchise. You know, speaking of the franchise, shout out to the ballerina. Guys, listen, I'm not going to give you a lot of like spoilers. All I'm going to say is Flammenwaffen. Don't listen. If you guys in the chat know what I'm talking about, don't ruin it for the next guy. Just type Flammenwaffen in the chat if you guys have seen the ballerina and you know how awesome that part was. Oh my God. I thought it was just going to be like, you know, some girl goes on her Xena rampage. And it was that, but it was like, it wasn't Mary Sue though. It was definitely not Mary Sue. She got kicked in the gut a couple of times. Like she definitely earned it. She earned her John Wick association. I'm gonna put it to you like that. The ballerina is good. The ballerina is good. I like her. And you know, as there was this thing going around a couple of years ago about female action stars, because that dumb chick that they got to play the Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe, in the MCU, what was her name? Brie Larson. She was talking about female action stars like we've never done it before. And the ballerina, the Flammenwaffen, goddamn. God, it was beautiful. I mean, it was literally beautiful because the concept of what they did in that moment, making it, you know, combat, but combat is also art when it comes to like the on-screen production and all that. So they had to make it compelling. And oh my God, you know, I've never seen, totally unexpected, didn't even understand what it was as it was leading up to the moment. It was like, what was that what was that right? What was that? And then when it came out, I was like, oh, wow. It was like that scene in what was that movie about the models? When the guy was like, when when Will Ferrell was like, oh, Magnum, it's beautiful. That's how I was when they hit the Flammenwaffen. It was beautiful. It really was. I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing thing that they've done here. Anyway, I'm getting all poetic about an action movie, but it was great. It was great. You got to go watch Ballerina. I'm telling you, if you're into the action thing, like watching action movies, and especially if you're into the John Wick universe, because they killed the little John Wick universe TV show that they made out. They put out like 4 or 3 episodes of the John Wick show. And it was great because it was about like the John Wick world back in the 70s. It was a straight like early set prequel. And it was dope too. But yeah, you get what you get. It was dope though. They haven't really let us down with the John Wick franchise yet. But anyway, we are way off track, man. Shout out to American Man. Thanks for the super chat.
Says what?
Police.
Oh, on the plates.
It looks very much
Police, right on.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow. All right. Well,
Now, public state
go ahead,
records.
go ahead, AJ.
Listen,
Sorry.
I was going to say, the records I'm seeing on the government's websites where he was working on the Governor's Workforce Development Board, you know, he's listed as a general manager at a speedway in St. Paul.
All right.
If it's, you know, we want to make sure you can always have people with the same name. So we'll just want to be really careful for
That's right.
continuing to sort this out. But if it is the individual who is working for the state as a volunteer on the Workforce Development Board, the government records list him as a general manager at the gas station.
Yeah, we want to be extremely careful and not speculate, but all this reporting is wonderful, AJ, and thank you for the heads up on this. We just want to give people a heads up who police are looking for right now.
And we're still waiting on that. AJ, thank you so much. We appreciate your reporting. I know you'll check back the second you have any new information on this suspect or anything else. Thank you, AJ.
So let me see. What are these other videos?
All right, we're going to go back to AJ Legault on the phone, investigative reporter. You were talking about some of the potential links to the government that this 57-year-old suspect, doctor as he's known on the internet, Vance Bolter, has had with the government. He's also has allegedly a private security job. AJ, what have you learned in the last half hour?
Vance Bolter is listed as a director of security patrols with a private security company, and it looks like his spouse, his wife, is listed as the president and CEO. That company, according to the Secretary of State's website, is
his wife. Where is the wife? You know, you got to find the wife now, right? Like, you literally have to put the wife under police guard for her protection or for her questioning. Either way, where's the wife?
is headquartered in Gaylord, Minnesota. And when you look up the address for this security company, it just takes you to what looks like a home. And on Google Earth,
a security company located in Gaylord, Minnesota. God, if this is not some type of weird quasi-governmental organization, just everything about it just sounds odd. This guy and his wife runs a security company out of Gaylord, Minnesota. Shout out to all the Gaylordians out there, by the way. Decent, fine, hardworking people, as I understand it. No, you don't want to associate the Gaylordians with all this dark black hattery going on here, but apparently this man associated with, well, he and his wife founded a company, a security company, and they placed it in Gaylord, Minnesota. And so they just went on from there doing their private security thing.
Minnesota. And when you look up the address for this security company, it just takes you to what looks like a home. And on Google Earth, parked in the driveway is a dark SUV with police lights, stickers. You know, it's got the bar on the top. What is different, though, is the vehicle that was taken from the scene of the shooting does not appear to have the same wrap along the side as the vehicle you can see in Google Earth, but it does tie the suspect that they're looking for, Vance Bolter.
You mean to tell me the car that is associated with the actual crime is probably the car that you can see off Google Maps? You know, true story, long time ago when Google Earth was first driving around, mapping out the whole world, They literally had cars with like 4 cameras on the top of the car to get all 4, directions of the car view. And I was captured on a Google Earth camera one time. There was a picture of me for a couple of years. I went back to it every now and then to check on it. It's gone now. But for a couple of years, there was a picture of me on Google Earth just chilling in the projects. And so apparently the shooter's car was also captured on Google Earth. What a small world, man. Google got everybody on camera right now.
To police-looking vehicles that are all tricked out with, the bar lights on top and the spotlights. So it doesn't appear to be the same vehicle on Google Earth, but it would appear that he does have access to police-looking vehicles.
And if he was, in fact, some kind of security expert, might explain why he had the tactical gear and all the things that would make him appear to be law enforcement.
Yeah. AJ, go ahead, bud.
I want to read for you his bio that is listed on the security company's website because it addresses some of what you were just talking about. It says that Dr. Vance Bolter has been involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, and the Middle East, including the West Bank, Southern Lebanon, and Gaza Strip. He brings a great security aspect.
Were all those just like hits? Like if you're one of those guys in the private military world and you had to go over on like a dark black ops mission to take out some random bad guy, do you just put that down on your resume as security operation? Like, yeah. Now I was totally running security in Eastern Romania. I was running security in Odessa in Ukraine. I was totally running security. Do you just put that on your resume and they're just like, oh yeah, security expert, dope.
Forged by both many on-the-ground experiences combined with training by both private security firms and by people in the U.S. military. He's worked for the largest U.S. oil refining company and the world's largest food company based in Switzerland. And it says, Vance.
Oh, he worked for oil company and global food companies. He's definitely hit people for money. You don't understand the banana wars, bro. He's definitely hit oil and food. Oh my God. He's the economic hitman. Look it up. It's a real guy. Well, apparently there's a bunch of those kinds of guys. He's an economic hitman. This nigga worked for Exxon and Chiquita Banana.
Has focused all this experience to make sure Praetorian Guard Security Services covers the needs you have to keep your family and property safe. So we're seeing at least this self-described bio on a website, but that doesn't seem to match exactly what we're seeing on some of the government forms where he's been a volunteer serving on a state board. In those cases, it always listed him as working as being like the general manager of a gas station.
AJ, a quick, yeah. As we try to uncover more about the person that they are looking for, I have another question. Have any of your law enforcement sources talked to you about
wait. I'm confused.
Working on some of the government forms where he's described bio on a website, but that doesn't seem to match exactly what we're seeing on some of the government forms where he's been a volunteer serving on a state board. In those cases, it always listed him as working as being like the general manager of a gas station.
AJ, a quick, as we try to uncover more about the person.
Why does everything about this just glow so hot? This is really, really wild. You know what else is a really wild story? The second Trump shooter had all these ties to Ukraine, ties to BlackRock. Just a lot of weird coincidences, man. Do you guys believe in coincidences? You think that kind of thing just, happens randomly?
that they are looking for. I have another question. Have any of your law enforcement sources talked to you about how this shooter managed to slip away after shooting guns at police officers on foot at Hortman's house? As far as we're concerned, and as far as we know, the shooter hasn't been seen since that moment. Are you hearing anything from your law enforcement sources about how he was able to move away?
I am not, but as we listened to that press conference, what struck me was it said
He's
the
John
gunman went
Wick,
back into
bro.
the home.
He's
And you
Jason
had all-
Bourne. What do you mean how he was moved? As if you would know. As if you would have any clue the kinds of training this man has been through. Like, I can't believe he just disappeared. Yes, yeah, that's what they do. That's probably some of the first things they learn in spycraft, how to blend in and get away after you did a thing.
Officers out front who just been shot at.
Right.
And they, if I remember, when they sent a drone in, so there was after pulling
The
Melissa
nigga drone
Hartman's
proof?
husband-
Oh God, no, not drone proof. Nothing worked on this guy. How's the nigga drone proof?
and they, if I remember, when they sent a drone in, so there was after pulling Melissa Hartman's husband out, if I'm recalling correctly, who was near the front. I think it would have been pretty easy for the gunman to run out the back door. If he'd went in the front and out the back pretty quickly,
Sure.
he could have certainly disappeared into the neighborhood really quickly. And by the time, they had any sort of perimeter set up, he could have been quite a ways away.
My understanding was it was Hortman's home where they exchanged gunfire.
That's right.
Not Hoffman.
No, Hortman. Did I say
Yeah,
Hortman?
yeah.
Hortman. If I misspoke, yes, Hortman.
But we saw her home as well, and it looks like there's just a big park and a lot of open area behind it. And of course, it's the cover of night, and it had to be incredibly
It's 2:30 in the
confusing.
morning.
Yeah, what was happening in that moment.
Right.
And we did hear too that they had persons of interest that they were talking to. Of course, that can mean all kinds of things, but clearly have settled on this man, 57-year-old Vance Bolter, as their suspect. And I'm sure you saw, AJ, that we had chopper shots of his property that he owned in Green Isle with Bearcats, and we understand several other armored vehicles on their way to that property that he owned in Green Isle. So we're monitoring that.
Is that the place in Gaylord?
That situation as well.
It appears that this person may own another property in Gaylord, Minnesota.
That's the
I was
place.
saying, yeah.
Everybody wants to know what's going on in the Gaylord house, man. If you know what, my gut is telling me there's a lot of dark, nasty things happening at his Gaylord residence, and you should look into whatever's going on at the Gaylord house. Like the main house that he lives in on paper, like his regular residence address, there's nothing there. You probably won't even find any of his body hair in his actual house that he lives in. That's how clean that place is, right? But the Gaylord house, that's where everything is. All the evidence is in the Gaylord house. You better get there before they burn it down. That Gaylord house is going to blow up.
Yeah, so I guess our chopper is
Gaylord, Minnesota, where the security company is headquartered, according to the Minnesota Secretary of State. And it looks like it's just, the headquarters is just a home. But as I said, it has a police-looking vehicle parked in the driveway on Google Earth.
Well, AJ, I know whenever you're investigating suspects who are in the news, you do a check to see if they have any criminal background. Have you had a chance to do that, and did you find anything?
I did look up Vance Bolter, and if you'll bear with me, I'm sitting in front of my computer. Give me 1 second, and I can tell you what sort of criminal history he had, which was not much, if I recall. The last interaction that I'm seeing that he had with law enforcement in any way was speeding, going 89 in a 70, and that was back in 2017. And before that, it's seatbelt violations, it's not having a life jacket on a watercraft, and exceeding the speed limit by 15, 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's an operator. He has to keep a low profile, especially in between jobs. You can't really just get caught up beefing over random stuff, you know?
That looks to be nothing at all, which would correspond with service on a state, a state workforce development team, and also being, having a license to work as a security officer.
That's fascinating.
Baffling.
Yeah,
It's just baffling.
because all of the evidence to date indicates that this was planned, premeditated, planned, and someone who had intent on committing murder and carried it out.
And
as I told you before, Bolter served on the same government workforce as Senator John Hoffman.
Yeah, that's a chilling detail for sure. And you had said that your sources in law enforcement did look at that hit list. It wasn't only politicians on the hit list, but Hortman and Hoffman weren't even at the top of the list.
No, they were names on a list that involved Democratic politicians and abortion rights individuals.
Have you seen anything in his past that indicated he felt strongly on that issue, that he was involved in any nonprofits or political groups on that issue?
No, I haven't. He had some postings on social media dating back a number of years, talking about the upcoming election being extremely important, but it doesn't even indicate his political leanings, just that he had been to countries where people don't have the ability to vote for who their leaders are, and that they're not places anyone would want to live. So I'm very big on just telling people to be a part of the process and vote your values and be part of this adventure. We are all part of living in the United States of America. But that post is 6 years old.
And I want to ask you, I know he was appointed to that government workforce development board by Governor Dayton. Was he considered a Democrat, or we don't know? Because they can often have people from different parties on these boards.
Yeah, I don't think this is not a board that is like political
partisan
appointees, right? It's, workforce development. So if you're, willing to work on these sort of issues that are, may be important to you, workforce development is certainly a nonpartisan issue. So I say all that to say I don't have any indication of exactly what his personal politics were at this point.
All right, AJ, phenomenal work. We'll let you get back to digging, and know you'll update us as soon as you have any new information. Thank you so much.
We seem to have some kind of leanings about his personal politics. I mean, he's clearly, well, let me not say clearly, but evidence would suggest he might be leaning to the left or the far left. Now, the thing is, the two state level politicians, they were the two only Democrats to break with their party and vote with the Republicans to no longer provide free health care for illegal immigrants. The Democrats for a long time, I think the first sanctuary city goes back to Berkeley or something in the 70s. Maybe it was Oakland. It was a California city way back in the 70s that first became a sanctuary. And ever since then, if you're going to be a sanctuary, that's only the first step. Right now, you start to have to, once you declare yourself a sanctuary, you have to accept the responsibility of the people who are taking sanctuary in your city, if that makes sense. And so, food, healthcare, a pathway to citizenship, a pathway to legitimacy, which means jobs and whatnot. And apparently Minnesota has been doing that for a while. And now they decided we just can't afford to pay for the illegals any longer.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote. And we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
DFL Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman emotional following the House's adjournment from a special session Monday. Hortman was the lone DFL lawmaker to cast a vote to cut Minnesota Care access for undocumented immigrants. It's a move she made with a heavy heart.
I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
The bill was deeply unpopular with members of the DFL caucus. Members have repeatedly expressed frustration that the bill was part of a compromise, one that would ensure the necessary GOP votes to pass the rest of the state budget.
We are tremendously disappointed and gut-wrenched at this decision, at this compromise that compromises our communities that are most vulnerable.
Hortman knows she let down her own caucus members with the vote.
They're right to be mad at me. I think some of them are pretty angry. I think that their job was to make folks who voted for that bill feel like crap, and I think that they succeeded.
Over in the Senate, a similar situation unfolded. Senate Majority Leader Erin Murphy forced to vote for a bill she too disagreed with to uphold the integrity of their compromise.
This one hurt. This one is a wound because of its reason. My colleagues across the aisle set this as their #1 priority.
Asked whether the move would drive a wedge between her and the rest of her caucus, her DFL colleague, Senator John Marty, quickly stepped to her defense.
As a member of the caucus, yes, sir, she clearly was fighting against it every step of the way. In negotiations, if we wanted a budget, we had to agree to that. She agreed to put up one vote for us because of that.
Reporting in St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
And now she is apparently been killed by some guy. Who knows who? I mean, we think we know who. But I want to talk a little bit about left-wing political violence. Because, the right, especially when accused of being far right, the automatic association is you guys are the crazy violent people. And evidence just doesn't really bear that out. Not anywhere near to the degree that the evidence mounts for left-wing political violence.
You may have seen some clips of Jack Posobiec getting roughed up at a Jamie Raskin event where Raskin was talking to some union guys. And Jack yelled down some things to Raskin at the end of Raskin's talk. And the union guys didn't like it because it was not exactly pro Raskin. And they actually roughed him up. And I guess he's going to get law enforcement involved. I don't know how bad it was, but just based on the hard to determine video, they got physical right away. Now, does that ever happen in the other direction? If there had been a Trump event and somebody had yelled out something, because all he did was yell out something, do you think that the Trump supporters would have started roughing that person up? I don't think so. I mean, in 2015 or 16, there were some rallies where, there were some accusations that people were going to rough people up, but for the most part, it's not a thing. But the Democrats just immediately went to violence. And I think this is all part of the Hitler stuff. If you believe that the Trump people are all just Hitler supporters, then violence is called for. It would make sense if that's.
Remember, they believe themselves to be locked in an epic battle between light and dark. But they can't imagine for a minute that they themselves are the darkness.
The right to organize unions. Yeah! For redress agreements.
This is the incident Scott Adams was just talking about.
We know with Dr. King that the greatness of America is the right to protest for what is right. Against lawbreakers in big office. And that's where we are today. I'll leave you with my friends with the words of the great Marylander Frederick Douglass.
Jamie, why did you lose the popular vote? Why did you lose every single swing state? Why did you lose? Why? Let me talk. Let me talk. Let me talk. It's not fake. Look at this. 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 They're assaulting me, you motherfucker. Why'd you leave?
Such harsh language.
A lot of women who had basically knitted these, they did the same pussy design in red, white, and blue. And they're like, this is American. Resistance is American. I was like, you know what, ladies? I love it. Right. So that was great to see. But what I also asked these people, and these are like, your middle-aged, engaged people, most of them, and highly educated. And I asked them, this question that we adapted from a national survey. And the question was, to what degree do you agree or disagree with his statement that political violence may be necessary to protect democracy? And a third of the people at the People's March said they agreed or strongly agreed with that statement, which is a huge shift from what we have seen. Back during the American Values Survey, the last time they fielded it was only 8% of Democrats. And let me just say, at the People's March, it was 93% of the people in the crowds voted for Kamala Harris. So these are Democrats.
Yeah.
And they are starting to shift their opinion. So that's the thing I'm worried about. But I'm not saying we have enough people in the streets right now. I'm saying there are enough people who are starting to feel threatened that they're going to push back.
Now, even in her acknowledgement of this political reality that your team is vocally embracing the idea of violence for political gain, which is effectively terrorism, by the way, but you give them cover even as you acknowledge it. Oh, they're feeling threatened and they're pushing back. I have another theory. I don't believe it's that they are threatened and they're pushing back. I actually had this one clip pulled up from the other day when we were talking about female loneliness, but I want to use this to kind of introduce the subject matter right now.
Young women who are liberal are almost 3 times more likely to say that they are lonely a few times a week or more than that. So again, there's kind of a loneliness gap that we're seeing play out too for liberal versus conservative women in the country today. My name is Brad Wilcox, professor of sociology at the University of Virginia and a fellow at the Institute for Family Studies, and I study marriage and family in America. The General Social Survey, and then it's called the American Family Survey, that kind of tell us that on average, conservative women are happier, and that's particularly true for married conservative women. But you see this.
There is definitely something deeply different about the minds of liberals and conservatives. We're talking about lonely women lately, and that's why I had this clip pulled up from the other day. And I think the idea of romantic loneliness is only one element. It's actually a surface level issue.
Across a number of different data sets in recent years. This is the American Family Survey. It's sponsored by the Wheatley Institute, and they work with YouGov to survey thousands of U.S. adults across the country on a number of different family-related topics. And they tackle things like loneliness, happiness, marital status in the survey, and kind of give us a portrait of kind of how family life is playing out in American life today. And in this case, kind of how there's an intersection between happiness, loneliness, and marital status for younger women. So we see in this data, basically, is that only 31% of liberal women aged 18 to 40 are married, compared to 51% of conservative young women. That means basically that conservative young women are about 64% more likely to be married than their liberal female peers. And because we are social animals, and kind of being married, having a family is, I think, a source of enormous meaning and purpose for a lot of us. Just the fact that conservative women are more likely to be married, and also kind of happily married as well, I think is.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that for women, marriage is also a source of mental stability.
is a big reason why they're also more likely to be, satisfied with their lives in general as well. So when it comes to kind of that global happiness premium, I think that conservatives are more likely to put a premium when it comes to the importance of marriage and family, to kind of give women permission to lean into marriage, to lean into family, to kind of really embrace that more social side of their lives. I think that's, for a lot of women, valuable and important. And then too, what I find in my data is that conservative women are more likely to think that there is a biological difference between women and men, and liberal women are more likely to reject that idea. There's something about kind of thinking that women and men are different that is linked to conservative women's greater marital happiness. I think
Yes, believing in true things leads to mental stability and emotional happiness. Imagine that.
It gives them a greater appreciation for the ways in which, their husbands are somewhat different than they are in terms of their priorities, their activities and whatnot. And they can kind of appreciate that, well, he does his thing, I do my thing. And again, part of that story, I think, is they're more likely in their own, ways, both conservative men and conservative women, to prioritize marriage and family, also to be engaged in some kind of religious community. And those, those two things, marriage and religion, are very strong predictors of happiness in American life today. And there's no group of women who are happier in that kind of 18 to 55 demographic than married mothers. So I think that both marriage and motherhood tend to give women a tremendous sense of meaning and purpose, a sense that there is something to kind of live for, and there are people in their lives in a very obviously real way. And they're also more likely to be stressed out and to be tired, certainly compared to their, many of their female female childless peers. But in general,
I suspect, even though we're talking about liberal women right now, I suspect there's a mental issue among the few remaining left-wing liberal men out there as well. They are unhappy. They're lonely, mentally disquieted.
see is that women are more likely to be flourishing both financially and emotionally when it comes to a number of different outcomes when they're married with kids than when they're single and childless. And that kind of message is often, I think, lost both in the mainstream media, but also when it comes to social media as well.
I don't think that the issue that motivates left-wing violence is a feeling of being threatened or being aggrieved in some real way. I think there is a serious issue of mental instability on the left, and crazy people get violent.
10 years ago, you wrote, conservative women seem to be particularly blissful. About 40% say they're very happy. That makes them slightly happier than conservative men and significantly happier than liberal women.
Yeah.
The unhappiest of all are liberal men. Only about a fifth consider themselves very happy.
What did I just say? Whoa. What did I just tell you about liberal men? And I didn't even preview this clip, by the way, because I just kind of went by the title and I threw it in the pile of videos for the day. But damn, I'm getting good at this. Whatever this is, I'm getting good at it. Big Time with the $5 super chat. He says, Hood, fun fact, when women have children before 35, their body releases age-fighting hormones. Biology is fun. Yeah, ladies, you're welcome. Yeah. This pimp juice will keep you young, but only if you do it the right way. Don't just go out there having a bunch of random nigga babies. No. You got to get the right pimp juice from the right guy. Got to lock in. You got to do right by the pimp juice. Shout out to Big Time. Thanks for supporting the show, man.
I need that money.
Liberal women have overtaken liberal men as the unhappiest group. You find that particularly young women, very interesting new data show that white liberal women under 30.
10 years ago, you wrote, conservative women seem to be particularly blissful. About 40% say they're very happy. That makes them slightly happier than conservative men and significantly happier than liberal women.
Yeah.
The unhappiest of all are liberal men. Only about a fifth consider themselves very happy.
That was true 10 years ago. Liberal women have overtaken overtaken liberal men as the unhappiest group. You find that particularly young women, very interesting new data show that white liberal women under 30 have almost a 6 in 10 chance of having been diagnosed with a mental illness in America today. It's a really big problem. And there's lots of speculation about what that has to do with politics, what it has to do with race, what it has to do with age, et cetera, et cetera.
But either way, white liberal women make up the majority of the liberal wing.
But what you find is that this is a group that's really, really struggling. And it's a pity because it's not good for them. It's not good for society. And that's what we see. So I don't think that being a political conservative is a panacea for being a happy person. But we see disproportionately these happiness and unhappiness effects in different parts of the population for sure.
10 years ago, you wrote, conservative women.
There's something about the nature of left-wing-ism, just the culture, the ideologies, the behaviors, the expectations. There's something going on that literally induces mental illness. It makes you crazy. Either being liberal is for crazy people or liberalism makes people crazy.
And we're also sometimes lying on ourselves when people say like, oh, we use critical race theory in school. We don't use critical race theory in school. The first tenet of critical race theory is that the United States as constructed is irreversibly racist. So if the nation state as constructed is irreversibly racist, then it must be done with. It must be overthrown, right? And so we can't be like, oh no, critical.
I would argue that having an intense burning desire to burn down the house that you live in, the house that your parents lived in, the house that your forefathers built, I would venture to argue that that very sentiment is an indication of your mental instability. This is no different from trying to violently grab the wheel while someone else is driving. Do you really want us all to crash?
And we're also sometimes lying on ourselves when people say like, oh, we use critical race theory in school. We don't use critical race theory in school. The first tenet of critical race theory is that the United States as constructed is irreversibly racist. So if the nation state as constructed is irreversibly racist, then it must be done with. It must be overthrown, right? And so we can't be like, oh no, critical race theory is just about telling our stories and diverse. It's not about that. It's about overthrow. It's insurgent. And we need to be, I think, more honest with that. And it's funny that they don't understand critical race theory, but they actually tell some truth when they're like, yeah, it is anti-state. You can't be a critical race theorist and be pro-US. Okay, it is an anti-state theory.
It is an anti-American theory.
Anti-state. You can't be a critical race theorist and be pro-US. Okay, it is an anti-state theory that says the United States needs to be deconstructed, period, right? Like that's, and so I think it's an interesting argument there, and that's why I'm a critical race theorist. But
it does say a lot about liberal culture, and by liberal culture I mean the dominant part of corporate media. They're the ones who are doing this, and they're just reflecting and refracting the sentiments of their viewers. Their viewers influence them, they influence their viewers back. It's very symbiotic. And the idea of worshiping political leaders, secular leaders, is by itself already extremely misguided. But to take it and turn it into something religious, something sexual, something visceral, something emotional, something psychological.
Speaking of all these themes here, especially the religious, I think it is significant that the left wing is a largely a-religious group, or they attempt to create non-traditional approaches to religion. That's why you see all these like hipster modern churches downtown. You know the church, the guy, the young hipster pastor guy. He wears jeans and some kind of vest. Everybody in there is welcome. So half the congregation is gay, trans, or some kind of weird social affliction. That's the left-wing approach to religion. And what I think is happening is politics has become a major element of the left-wing religion. It is the highest form of worship, is to be politically engaged.
So that you have Chris Hayes practically weeping and talking about his sense of sanity being restored because of assertions by a prosecutor in an indictment. These people are so connected relentlessly to this continuous morality play that they see themselves as the protagonists then. That they're involved in this kind of historic world struggle. They're fighting on the front lines of America. They call themselves the resistance, even though the only thing they do is tweet. They name themselves after the people in ghettos in Europe, including in France, who fought against Nazis and who hid from Nazis and then fought against them and created networks to.
Remember, it's all built on the alleged history of World War II. This whole thing goes back to what we think we know about the war, who we think the good guys and the bad guys are. The entire liberal moral framework rests on the accepted history of World War II. Remember, Martin Luther King is white Jesus for black people, and Adolf is the devil. And all morality proceeds from there.
Transport Jews and other people who were sought by the Nazi occupiers to safety. They name themselves after those people with a hashtag. That's the warped and sick world in which they've been living since Donald Trump's election and even a little bit before. And this is why that anything is justified to them. They are kind of this kind of cult of mental illness. And if you are at this point where banal everyday politics is occupying such a central place in your psyche and your soul, because nothing else is there and it crowds out everything, I think personally those people should be asking a lot of hard questions introspectively about themselves. But for us, that's their own business. But for the public part of that, this is why they come to believe that anything and everything is justified. They crave the imprisonment of their political enemies. They want them censored and silenced. So much of liberal politics is about that. And this sort of thing of the media venerating and worshiping any political figures who end up in any way adversarial to Donald Trump obviously shows the extent to which journalism has disappeared. There's pure partisan tribal identity. But it's gone way beyond that. This is not only political, it is deeply personal and emotional and psychological. And that's why
they're crazy. There's something wrong inside. There's something wrong with their medulla oblongata.
even though I have my criticism of Donald Trump and the Trump movement, in so many ways, my focus has been on their reaction to him and the way in which all these centers of power have united the U.S. security state, corporate media, big tech, all united, feeding on this sort of narrative, believing in it, and talking themselves into ever more extreme versions of it. Because when people convince themselves of this sorts of thing, that's when there really are no limits on what they're capable of.
They are no limit soldiers for the left-wing utopian dream. There is nothing they won't do.
They attack people, families who protest against CRT or radical queer ideology in curriculums. They attack people who protest against children's drag queen events. So, my point is Antifa are constantly moving the goalposts. Really, I mean, to put it simply, they label any opposition as fascist, and they do that because then they can say that, if you don't agree with us, then you're on the side of the fascists, and the language is meant to dehumanize their opposition and also to rally liberals to then be okay with a certain level of political violence, which has happened.
Political violence is a majority left-wing phenomenon. And when you listen to them talk, they say openly they are the cause will ultimately have to come to violence. They are the people who are well versed in the ideology, they accept
You can see that liberals, Democrats, they don't blink an eye when far left extremists use violence to shut down conservative events at universities or in the public, or when far left extremists threaten judges, Supreme Court justices. They don't bat an eye at all. That's kind of just seen as normal now. So this is how insidious I think Antifa on the far left are. People don't really realize that it goes a lot further than the brick throwing, the setting stuff on fire, or hitting somebody on the head with a baton.
And even though this is who they are, the news media itself is deeply complicit in covering up for their violent nature. Even right now, manhunt underway for the suspect. They want us to believe somehow Trump and the right wing are raising the temperatures in America right now, and they're causing a violent outburst.
By the overwhelming majority of Americans, regardless of political party and regardless of who the subject of the assassination is. That's a very red line that'll be crossed. And I wonder if some of these protests around the country, including yours, whether that's a unifying force, where people are going to come out and say, we want our democracy a certain way. We have the right to protest. It's a First Amendment right. We don't cross lines into political violence.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope that this is a unifying moment, but unfortunately, as we've seen time and time again, it usually isn't. We have too many people and too many elected officials, including the current occupant of the White House, who escalates rhetoric and violent rhetoric against political opponents.
Yeah. 2 Democrat lawmakers shot, but by what appears to be some shady Jason Bourne type Democrat operative. But, Trump, the guy in the White House, he's making all the violence happen.
Yes, it's a First Amendment right. We don't cross lines into political violence.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope that this is a unifying moment. But unfortunately, as we've seen time and time again, it usually isn't. We have too many people and too many elected officials, including the current occupant of the White House, who escalates rhetoric and violent rhetoric against political opponents. And that leads to these kinds of tragic events. It is absolutely unacceptable, and every single elected official should be condemning this, regardless of their political party. But I don't have the greatest hope for some people to actually come out and do that, unfortunately.
Jacob.
I think we want to share an interview that we did a little bit earlier with our Courtney Godfrey, who actually, she's live. Okay. Thank you, Lori. Courtney, sorry about that, Are you there? Hey. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here, Amy. Obviously, these are not the circumstances that I would like to join you on. But yes, we spoke earlier, and I knew Senator John Hoffman personally. I know his wife. I know his daughter, Hope. I came to know Senator John Hoffman when I became an amputee and a member of the disability community. I lost my leg in a boating accident in 2017. And as soon as I started getting into advocacy at the state capitol, I met John Hoffman. And before I even knew his daughter was also an amputee like myself, he took on the issues that I was advocating without question. John is known in St. Paul and across the state as being a staunch disability advocate. He has worked tirelessly over the years to advocate for individuals with disabilities, advocate for those in marginalized communities. Obviously, it's personal to him because.
Damn. You do all these good things for the Democrats and you vote to take away the illegal medical care for one time because, you know, you were running out of money and you do one thing and now none of that other stuff matters. You got to go. It's crazy.
Because of his daughter Hope, who lives with a disability. But he's advocated for funding to expand disability employment services. He's supported vocational training programs and pushing for policies that would promote equal pay and fair treatment in the workplace. I worked with him just this last last year's legislative session to pass a bill that expanded access to prosthetics for amputees, and he was a champion on that bill. And I believe because of his advocacy, we were able to get that bill passed. In my relationship with him, I obviously take off my reporter hat. He's an incredible human being. He's someone who Republicans and Democrats alike would say he's there for the right reasons.
We're going to go to our newsroom real quick. We have some new information on the suspect in this case. So for that, we're going to go to Fox 9's Tim Blott, standing by in the newsroom with what he can tell us about the suspect. Tim?
Well, yeah, Amy and Karen, the Associated Press is now reporting, according to anonymous sources, that the suspect that they're looking for in this case is Vance Luther Bolter. He's 57 years old. He has a PhD in education. And interestingly enough, he's been appointed twice. But
not a teacher. God, a teacher too? You know, when the camps open up, there will be a lot of so-called educators in the camps, you know. They've done bad things.
By Governor Tim Walz as a private sector representative to the Governor's Workforce Council, once in 2016 and then again in 2019, with that term expiring in 2023. Now, here's the interesting part. And if this is in fact true, the guy that they're looking for, according to the Associated Press, it is. He is the director of security patrols at Praetorian Guard Services here in the Twin Cities. So according to their website, again, this is Praetorian Guard Security Services, as Director of Security, he is involved with security situations in the Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, and Middle East, including the West Bank, Southern Lebanon, and the Gaza Strip. He has worked.
Yeah, he didn't do anything suspicious over there, though. He was just literally standing in front of the door. He was guarding a door. That's all he did. He was just over there on guard detail. They were like, hey, don't let nobody in this door. And that's what he did in Africa and Eastern Europe, different parts of Asia. He was just guarding a door. He never did nothing. He didn't do nothing.
Worked for the largest U.S. oil refinery company, the world's largest food company based in Switzerland, and is the world's largest convenience retailer based in Japan. So an extensive security background, and that he worked for security guard services here in the Twin Cities. Things are starting to line up in terms of the security car that was found at the scene, in terms of what the suspect may have been wearing when Brooklyn Park officers confronted him coming out of the Hortman home here very early this morning. Now, apparently he's also had some contacts here with Minnesota Africans United. And according to their website, he majored in international relations at St. Cloud State University, has his master's in management along with his doctorate from Cardinal Stritch University in Milwaukee. So that's what we know about the suspect at this time. Again, his name is Vance Luther Bolter. He is a suspect fact, according to the Associated Press, that the manhunt is on for right now, still not in custody, but he is considered armed and dangerous. And in fact, in that entire area, Amy, as you and Karen have been reported on this morning, they're asking people that he is by himself, and if he approaches a door, do not answer. Call 911 to verify that that it is a police officer that is at your door. So that's what we know at this point. Amy, Karen?
Okay. Interesting.
That was a lot, Tim.
Right.
Would you mind just
Not the Nigerian sleeper cell, bro. Don't drag the Nigerians into this, man. That's the last thing we need.
kind of going back to the beginning and walk us through just like the couple of things that we know about him, as far as I don't know if we have that graphic still up, but there were a couple of things that kind of stood out to me right off the top here.
I was specifically about the security, his involvement with security.
Right, and that's why I said a lot of this will line up to you and our viewers, because it was a black Ford Explorer with emergency lights on top, very much looked like a police car. And then you had the chief, the Brooklyn Park police chief, in the news conference this morning saying that when their officers approached the scene, this suspect came out of the door wearing a dark police uniform, wearing a taser, wearing body armor, wearing a badge. And the chief said, if you and I were standing in this room, you would not know that he was not a police officer. So
you are watching a master at work.
this tends to line up, if he does come from a security background, that this suspect would have access to those uniforms and that particular vehicle that was parked in the Hortman's driveway.
Can you talk about who he was working for?
It's Praetorian Guard Services, PRAE.
And what is that?
It's a security guard company here in the Twin Cities.
But you said they did some work around the world in Africa?
He did work, according to his bio on the site.
How many people associated with the Democrat Party are just straight up spies at this point? Not like the elected officials, but just the general people moving around doing this or that. You know, I work overseas. You know, obviously the State Department that's obvious, but you know, the people who work for these NGOs and whatnot, you know, I went to Africa to build a well and teach the Nigerians how to speak English. Like, you're all probably just spies at this point, right? Am I bugging? Am I thinking too hard?
He has been involved with security situations in Eastern Europe, Africa, North America, and the Middle East, including the West Bank and southern Lebanon and the Gaza Strip. So apparently he has a very broad security background, not just here in the States, but in some of the hot spots around the world.
Okay, thank you, Tim. And then also just really quickly here, I know this is coming in fresh to you too, and you may not know, but if you could look into a little bit more, part of in 2019, that would be Governor Walz at the time, Workforce Development Board?
Workforce Development Council.
What is that?
Well, what these do is they tend to advise the administration on workforce issues, whether it's recruitment,
Oh, he was an advisor, right? That's a great way to keep your spies on the payroll in between jobs, right? Because it's not like every single day there's a guy that needs to be taken down. You know what I mean? Like the Mission Impossible movies, they literally take place years and years apart. You know, they do stuff. They have hobbies. They find girlfriends. They start up little fake families and whatnot. You got to keep them occupied, and then they go out on a spy mission, and somebody, you know, gets thrown off a roof or something like that. It's how the job works, you know.
Whether it's mostly workforce strategies, how to recruit people, how to train people, and he would have been served twice on this particular board. So I find that very interesting that he was a gubernatorial appointee who obviously had ties to the Walz administration in the past as a private sector individual, and that was made very clear on the governor's proclamations that are part of the public record.
And we don't know if he had, and in his dealings when he was on that board, if he had.
So I want you to understand the moment in time we're in. The Midwest Request says, remember this day, fellas. We making and analyzing history. Hit that like button. You can hit that Cash App as well while you're at it. But an employee, someone who worked for the governor of Minnesota, is now suspected of carrying out a professional, a high-level style, John Wick, Jason Bourne style assassination of an attempted assassination of another politician, killing one of their spouses, injuring another spouse, right? A former employee of the governor. This is why I ask, how many Democrats are just spies right now? Just little private operatives working toward God knows what. Just, you're the rogue nation that Tom Cruise is out there trying to stop, right? This is why Tom Cruise is like the last movie star. Out of all the people that were movie stars growing up, Tom Cruise is like the last guy I kind of still like. I know he's a little crazy Scientologist dude, but he doesn't really get in a lot of trouble publicly. He jumped on Oprah's couch that one time, and we never forgave him for that. But Tom Cruise is the guy out here trying to save us from what are basically Democrats. And it's crazy when you think about it. He's only like 5'3".
Direct dealings with Melissa Hortman or Senator Hoffman?
We have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
A lot of times what these boards do is they meet, not privately, oftentimes in public, but they meet separately from the legislative issues that are going on at the Capitol.
Okay. All right, Tim, and I know we're working on a photo of this suspect, Vance Luther Bolter. 57 years old. I know we're working on a photo. We'll try to get that out to you, but certainly some incredibly interesting information. But really, we still don't really have any answers as to motivation here.
No, absolutely not. Other than, and Karen, you would speak to this too. It is very rare when the State Patrol.
It'd be funny if none of these photos of him are actually real. Like every one of these photos of him are like him wearing some kind of facial prosthetic. It's him, but it's not really him.
Or investigative agencies will release pictures of evidence at a scene.
Right.
And the evidence that they released a picture of.
They damn near have the Mission Impossible mask, by the way. Like the spy mask technology. It's kind of scary, bro. They do have some high level MI5 type just Spy Kids technology. Like the stuff that you don't know that they're capable of is really wild. And that's the stuff that every now and then they get to, put on TV and make a documentary or something. Imagine what they don't tell you.
Of the pieces of paper inside the vehicle here this morning, with obviously it was handwritten in a magic marker, King's rally, that they disclosed that they had found this evidence in there as part of their reasoning. This it right here, no Kings, to disclose evidence from an active.
You know what? This is totally what do you call it, off on a random tangent or whatever, but I got to do this. This is a non sequitur, but I got to make this point. It is loosely associated, but I am glad. Thank you, Black America, for making a good call. It's been like, I don't know, 80 I don't know, World War II maybe was the last time collectively Black America made a good call, because Black folk was patriotic back then too. We did our thing. We served. We fought. Black America does not participate in the protest movement right now. I told you, ever since Kamala lost to Trump, Black women was making TikToks like, I'm not doing it. You listen. We are resting. This is our age of rest. We're going through a period of rest right now. So we're not protesting. We're not joining your movements. And it's kind of held. a lot of the protests that have been going on, you know, the Tesla thing, and now you got this this immigration thing. It's mostly middle-aged and funky, crusty, old-ass white people. Like, really, I just saw them wheeling people out of a nursing home. Like, actually wheeling people out of a nursing home to go to the protest. Black folk have finally made a great call collectively, like as a unit. I'm proud of us as a team. I am proud of us as a team. Let me give us that pat on the back. We have made a great call. You're like, you know what? We're not really down with this. Most of us is not really feeling this whole thing. Y'all wilding. I'm not going home. And now, look what's happened. You show up for a protest and you get associated with some political assassinations. Nope, not, and won't catch black folk. Nah, black folk ain't got nothing to do with this. You cannot blame black people for anything that just happened in Minnesota. For once, it is not a nigga fault. Tyrone is off the hook. Jermaine did not do it.
I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault.
You know who's responsible? These people. These people, it's them. Blame them.
Okay. Here we come. All right, I gotcha. Got me? Yep, I got you.
There's so many of them. And they're so old. They are really, really old people. You can't be radical and geriatric, Freeman's Journal. I don't know how that, like, do you still have like the joint flexibility to be radical? It's gonna take him forever to actually get to the protest.
I haven't responded yet.
The Democrats fell off real hard, man. Like, it's tragic when you think about it. They lost their swag for real.
That they disclosed that they had found this evidence in there as part of their reasoning. This it right here, no kings.
And hit that like button, guys. Support the show. I'm gonna throw the link in the chat. I think somebody wants to join the panel. I think we'll throw the link in the chat, man. Support the show, y'all. Hit that like button for me.
To disclose evidence from an active scene like this is so unusual for law enforcement, but it speaks to the urgency as to why they did not want people to go to these rallies here today, especially the big one at the Capitol, where the governor, the lieutenant governor, Keith Ellison, a lot of our leading elected officials in the state of Minnesota were scheduled to appear at noon.
Okay, Tim. Sorry, we're just processing here in real time. A lot of details there. I think maybe why don't we take a break, let you kind of get back to finding out some more information.
So we're going to, again, give some updates, and we will be available to answer some questions once all the speakers have had that opportunity to say a few words. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Drew Evans of the BCA.
Thanks, Commissioner. And today we are asking for the public's help at this point in time in locating Vance Luther Bolter, who is a 57-year-old white male who's 6 feet 1 inches tall, 220 pounds with brown hair and brown eyes. I know this name has been reported in the media so far, and we are confirming as a person of interest that we are looking to locate in relation to this. At this time, we would ask the public, if you do locate him or see him, to call 911. Do not approach him. You should consider him armed and dangerous, and you should call 911 immediately with the information. He was seen last this morning wearing light-colored cowboy hat that you can see up here in the clothing there, with dark-colored long-sleeve collared shirt or coat, light pants, and carrying a dark bag. If you have any tips about the whereabouts or any information that would be helpful, you can call local police department, or you can call our BCA tip line at 877-996-6222, or email us at bca.tips@state.mn.us. We still don't know if additional people are involved, but this individual is the one that we're looking as a person of interest right now, but there may be other people with him, and we would like to speak to anybody that may have had contact with him at any point in time. So please connect with us, even if this has been some time ago today, so that we can follow up and continue to work together to keep our communities safe. And we, as the commissioner noted, we'll take some questions at the end. But again, we are seeking the assistance of the public in locating him. I want to continue to say, as you see, there's hundreds of law enforcement officers working on this right now for the partners that you see up here today, as well from Champlin.
Okay, I think the names on that list have been released, or at least some of the names. Let's take a look at this one here.
Their home in the suburbs of Minneapolis. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife also shot in their home not too far away. Both have undergone surgery, expected to survive. Officials say the suspect was impersonating a police officer and now believed to be on foot. He was last seen in Brooklyn Park, where there is an active shelter-in-place order. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz now recommending people that not attend any political rallies in the state today until that suspect is caught. We know one event in Minneapolis has already been canceled as
Link is in the
thousands
chat,
gather
guys.
around the country for the anti-Trump No Kings protests. Joining me now is investigative reporter Olivia Rubin, senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, and former NYPD Chief of Detectives Bob Boyce. Olivia, I want to start with you. We're learning some new details as well. The suspect allegedly had a hit list of other Democratic leaders.
Officials said at the press conference earlier, Morgan, that they had found a list inside of that car that he had at one of the lawmakers' homes. Remember, they said that it looked like a police cruiser with lights flashing, and now sources are telling us a bit more about exactly who was on that list that was found in the car. They're saying that it included multiple Democratic lawmakers, both at the state and the federal level. That included Governor Tim Walz, who we heard speaking earlier today. It includes the Democratic State Attorney General Keith Ellison. It also includes Congressman Ilhan Omar, who...
Okay, false flag incoming.
Yeah.
Definitely a false flag incoming. So that's how it goes, right? You're going to kill some of your high profile people and be like, oh, look what Trump's guys did to us. Get them.
Quote me on this right now. They're going to try to pass this off as like Trump's Order 66. Quote me on this right now, brother. They're going to try to pass this off as that. You're familiar with Star Wars, right?
Of course, bro. Come on.
Yeah, Order 66. Yeah. They're going to try to pass this off like he was hired by Trump. What this actually is the Democratic political party trying to put their cues in order.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Walz was never on the list of people to be assassinated. But the people that were assassinated, they did something that he did not like. I wonder what that was.
Well, they did just vote to take away all the illegal immigrant money. And here's the thing you got to understand, right? It's not about the illegals actually receiving the funding that they're voting for under this legislation. It's about the people who have their hands in the pot. There are millions, well, let me not say a million, but there are dozens of hands in the pie. way before $1 gets spent on any illegal, way before a sandwich gets bought for a homeless guy, way before a blanket gets passed out in the wintertime, because it's Minnesota, way before anything happens like that, other people get paid first. And that's why they're upset.
Yeah. I pretty much live in Minnesota, right? So I don't live in Minnesota. I live in North Dakota, but let's just say I'm on the border. All right, I'm pretty much on the border of the two states. Okay.
Really, hold on. My geography blanks. Minnesota and North Dakota are that close? Really, they border each other?
Yeah, look it up.
Okay, I'll trust your geography. You're the local. I don't know. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. The majority of Minnesota and North Dakota, they're disconnected by the Red River. It's called the Red River. Yeah, man. There's a town. It's called Grand Forks, North Dakota, right? And then you cross a bridge, and it's East Grand Forks, Minnesota, right? That's how close they are to each other. They border each other. But yeah, man, Minnesota's a hellhole. And this was the Democratic Party putting their cues in order. They did not like that these Democrats decided to vote, in favor of American citizens. So,
well, let me ask you this, because you describe Minnesota as a hellhole, and it occurs to me that Minnesota may be comparable to a state like California in that it's a Democrat stronghold. We don't really think of these Midwestern territories as Democrat strongholds, but they really are. I mean, why do you think there are a bunch of Somalians and whatnot running around there now? It was literally set up for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Minnesota is absolutely one of those Democratic strongholds. Absolutely. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of rural areas in Minnesota that are beautiful, and I love to go up there and fish them and hunt them when I got buddies do that, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful state. But like Minneapolis, I would drop a nuke on it and not even give a shit, to be honest with you. Like,
it's crazy.
Also, I don't understand this. There's a specific dichotomy that globalists keep trying to push, and it's like the Somalian Scandinavian, right? Like, for instance, right? Minnesota, North Dakota, right? That's like the majority of Somalian immigration are in those areas, right? Do you know what the major demographic population is within those two states?
Well, it was Scandinavian in that region before, but I don't
It's
know.
still heavily Scandinavian. It's there's a lot of Somalians. It's like more of a mixture now, but it's still heavily Scandinavian, right? Well, fun fact, they're trying to do that in Europe as well. The majority of immigrants that are going into places like Sweden and Denmark, right, are fucking Somalians.
They really want to make the Black Vikings a thing.
Like, but why Somalians?
I don't know about the why. Maybe it's just because, for whatever reason, it's just easier to get them. I don't know about the why exactly.
They've been destabilized for like a long time, and
right, maybe it's just easier to get, right? Like maybe it's just a simpler process, right? But I do know that in the broader sense, there's definitely a push to like bring the African world, not the third world in general. So in Europe, it's a lot of Africans because you can pretty much walk to Europe from Africa if you can get through Israel or whatever. If you can get through Egypt, you can walk, right? But anyway, they come on boats for the most part, but
not the Christians, hood.
Well, no, because like the Muslims can walk from Europe. Like a lot of the Muslim world, they can literally travel on foot. But the Africans take boats across the Mediterranean. And the thing is, there is a definite organized push to bring all these people into the European territories. For what reasons, we'll not speculate about right now. This is a fun, friendly family show up here today. But there's definitely something going on.
Yeah, I wasn't even trying to mention that. I was just trying to mention like the hilarity of let's throw like a bunch of Somalians in like we gotta understand the dichotomy there, right? Somalians on average they're not very tall, right? They tend to be like very thin, and you know what I mean? They're not like the typical like Black American, right?
Oh, definitely not, man. The Somali forehead is unstoppable.
Yeah,
you can
but
spot
like
it anywhere. It's crazy.
it's like you're setting them up for failure. Like you're gonna put them in the place where the average white dude 6'5" and like 250 that's been eating corn his entire life.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like what you're saying without saying is it's bad for the Scandinavian genetics, but we'll stop it right there. I want to kick the mic to American Man for a minute, and we get back to the clip. What's going on, American Man?
What's up, gentlemen? So I want you guys to notice something, right? Because it's not the first time I've seen this. Whenever the government does something, you notice the media doesn't have a narrative and they're all over the place. Oh, he's John Wick. He's Jason Bourne. He's a Democrat. He's a Republican. He's up. He's down. He's left. He's right. No one ever knows. Just leave it to the imagination.
They'll either
That's
create
essentially
a
what they're
narrative in the
going to
next
do.
24 hours. You got about 48 hours max to create a narrative, or they just mothball the whole story. Like the second Trump shooter. The second Trump shooter. Who is it? Why is he not on Dateline? Why are there not documentaries about this guy? Why don't we know about his family and his dad and his brother and all that, like the Las Vegas guy?
Well, I mean, we do know quite a bit. I mean, he's broke. He traveled incessantly back and forth to Ukraine to recruit Americans to go fight over there. Somehow he's got like, a house, and his ex-wife like took him off child support because he was so broke.
Yeah, and then we stopped hearing about him. We learned all those things, and I was like, wait, no, this looks weird. Let's stop talking about this guy.
Well, yeah, and that's the same thing here, right? Notice the night it happened before, all these big anti-Trump rallies, and all of a sudden we don't know anything about the guy, right? Notice the clip. Well, we don't know his leanings, right? Notice the media is not telling you what to think.
Yeah, but for them not to say, for him not to,
the media is not telling you what to think, bro. There's a reason for that.
Yeah. Like through omission.
Sometimes
because
it takes a minute. It takes a minute for him to catch up. Sometimes, so I'm with you, but I think that things happen, and you have to adjust to the timeline, and so they'll adjust, or they'll just go dark on the whole story.
Well, I mean, I'm waiting though, kind of like the that shooter in Nashville of the with the Catholic school or whatever. The manifesto finally got released, like due to like court injunctions or whatever. Like last month, and if they're quick to like just cover it up and not let you know that it's a mean old Republican or right winger, which I was on Clubhouse today and they were lying about this, saying it was a right winger. The Gretchen Whitmore joint was a right winger, and it was a YouTuber. It was an old girl that got into an old man back in like a year ago, however long it was when he got bounced off. Yeah, she was up on stage. Yeah, what her channel's like? What, for Harriet? Yeah, she was up there. I was like, why she? But they got a bunch of paid actors online though, so you know what I'm saying, they were uncovered for a bunch of stuff, and they don't like the fact that people are asking questions.
And that's why I
Let me
say
get paid to be a paid actor online.
That's why I say they're going to leave it to your imagination, because what they understand is as long as we don't give you the narrative, you're going to most right, 95% of people on the left are going to say this was right wing. And so they're just going to leave it to the narrative. And 95% of people on the left are just going to be like, yeah, this was right wing. And that's what they want. They couldn't. Here's the thing. They couldn't pin it. Say it again.
Now finish your thought.
Oh, they couldn't pin it down because it looks like this. In typical Democrat fashion, they can't, they have no idea what people on the right look like or do or say. And so they just pick the Democrat and here's the person that's going to, right? Like the fat chick that's supposed to be leading men, right? On the left. They don't even know what a man or anything looks like. So they pick this person and they're like, "Yeah, here's your right-wing person," right? And it always looks wrong, right? And so now it's like, okay,
Let me get
leave it
back.
up to imagination.
Let me get back to this clip now.
Of course, is quite outspoken and known from that state, and another a senator from Minnesota, Tina Smith. So those are high-level, notable names. We're also told that investigators are looking into whether or not this suspect or person of interest was possibly motivated by extreme views on abortion. So a little bit more coming out about who this individual could have been targeting and perhaps why. But again, we've heard from law enforcement that this is a rapidly developing situation. They're getting more information and they are also learning as they go.
Certainly concerning issue. You said the governor of Minnesota also on that list as well. Liv, hang with me for a second. I want to go to Bob because Bob, what's being done now to protect the other politicians that Olivia just mentioned?
I said all the keywords, Hood.
That are on this list.
Morgan, everybody on this list right now is being protected by police of law enforcement and probably the FBI as well. More likely the FBI. They're beyond that initial grid right now. This just happened at 3:30 in the morning. So now we're past that grid that they had locked down. We're looking for this individual in many places. I believe they have, as they said, they have a POI. So this seems to be they have this individual identified. Now is they have to find him and see how much planning he did in the aftermath of this attack. Those officers who engaged at that second house today probably saved lives of other politicians, other elected officials, on that list. Because that person looked like there was no stop to him. Initially, we law enforcement does have people imitating us, and that's the problem. It's a big problem everywhere in the country. And this person planned this out and did this last night.
And Bob, while I have you, how concerning is it that not only is he impersonating this officer allegedly, but he's also...
We understand right now that we have our Lou Goose on the phone who's been
let me say this real quick, Hud. Have you noticed how they managed to keep Tim Walz in the light? Why? Just why is the question.
I think he's still getting that afterglow of being the vice presidential nominee or whatever. But maybe they don't really have many good people, so they got to just sort of play up that guy. They really don't have a lot of great candidates for the media or whatever.
I don't know, man. Like you would have thought old boy from Maryland would be the deal, but they hate anything that looks close to traditional masculinity. So I mean, he would be like a strong candidate for a regular electoral cycle.
Well, Westmoreland just vetoed the reparations bill, so he's got problems with his own base.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the very talented people, whatever, like they're scared of the radicals in their group to even trot them along.
That's what I said. That's literally the problem. Westmoreland stood up to the radicals in his own base, which are the black radicals in that case, and he's got backlash from that now. It's like the good guys, the actual good people can't really do what needs to be done. Look, David Hogg, for example, they picked this little weird guy to be the DNC vice co-chair, whatever the title is. And he tries to make changes, tries to bring in some new blood energy or whatever. Right or wrong, they looked at him making changes and was like, "Oh, this boy got to go. We got to get him up out of here."
Yep. I mean, look at Shapiro. He was way more qualified than freaking Tim Walz, but more than likely he probably didn't want to sacrifice his future political deal by attaching himself to Kamala. And the fact that that's way too much, like certain tribe, like too close to her.
Well, even the Shapiro guy's got a scandal around him. Apparently, I think he was like the prosecutor, or he was in some overseeing authority position. I forget what exactly his government title was, but there was a crazy murder case where a woman who had like a bunch of stab wounds and they ruled it some kind of suicide or something retarded like that. He's got a dirty history on him too, so he's got to keep a low profile.
I remember hearing that, but I think that him serving in the IDF is way more fodder because during the time,
now is definitely not a good thing. All the war stuff didn't really pop off. Like they didn't even attack Iran yet. So yeah, now there's a lot of negative baggage. But let me get back to this clip here. This is probably the last clip we're going to run today.
Did some digging this afternoon as well, and he joins us now with some new information. Lou?
Hi, Julie. Yeah, I'm making countless phone calls here regarding the investigation, and especially into the person of interest here.
Oh my God, is he wearing one of those fake? This is a mask.
That's the first thing I thought.
And that's not even a really, really great one. That's just like one you can buy from Temu.
Vance Belter. And late this afternoon, within the last hour and a half, authorities thought that they were close to getting him. There was
I got to tell you one thing. This is such a sidebar, but that Ring camera guy, amazing. Because this is likely Ring camera footage. It was a genius piece of technology, and so many great videos come from Ring cameras. So many people go to jail because of the Ring camera.
Hey, shout out to Shaq,
a report that he may have been in North Minneapolis, and Minneapolis police assisted with a search in that area, but they did not find him. So he is still at large at this hour.
So I'm sorry, I missed what you were saying. That they felt they were close.
Hey, shout out to Shaquille O'Neal for being one of the initial investors in that company.
Yeah, man.
I think Nas too.
Really, get out of here. Hey.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing a video thing some years back when Ring went fully what's the name when they went public. I remember seeing Nas made a lot of money off of it too.
Yeah, look at us now, man. Political assassinations on a Ring camera.
But then the opportunity slipped away.
I love this timeline.
He wasn't there when they got to the area that they were hoping that he was going to be. And Minneapolis police helped the other authorities with a search in Minneapolis. Give me a second here to get back to the street where this took place.
So how do we know for a fact it was this guy, though? Because if that's the Ring cam... Yeah, finish it, though. What are you saying, Bumpkin?
Yeah, there's no way to actually know it was him. Only eyewitness account that you really have is of the officers that had a shootout with him. And if this officer is corrupt, hey, guys, guess what? Other people in his department can also be corrupt.
Well,
so it's kind of like...
Even if they're not corrupt, let's say he's John Q. Law, right? He's, the neighborhood cop. He was just doing his thing. It's a shootout at 3 a.m. So assuming the house had any lights on at all, you know how quick these kinds of things happen? You don't necessarily remember every detail of the guy's face. You just know he was white. He might have been a light-skinned Mexican for all you know. You really don't know all these things. It's hard to just know, like, oh, I got a great look at the guy. Like, I shot at him 2 or 3 times. He sent 2 or 3 rounds at me, and then he ran back in the house. And now, all of a sudden, you can give me a great a great sketch? Nah, come on. Things aren't really that simple.
This guy was an actual cop, right?
Well, he got into a shootout with cops initially at one house, and that's why they kind of discovered something.
Allegedly, security personnel, whatever, would extensive.
Right. He's a private military contractor. That's kind of the official title.
This guy is John Wick,
aka John Wick.
The initial report, I believe, was this, right? The other cops pulled up into the house to do like a welfare check because they heard shots in the area, right? The chief told them to go over there and check it out, and they saw a police vehicle with the lights on already at the house.
Yeah, but he was initially allegedly impersonating a cop. So I don't know if it was a real police cop or a uniform, and that would be an easy way to get the door open on a stranger.
Right. And any of that stuff is easy to buy. The vehicle thing is a little bit trickier, but you can buy some of the basic stuff to impersonate a cop.
Man, how the fuck? That's why. No, has to be paid. Has to be getting some sort of wage for doing this shit. Private military contractor. He has a fucking vehicle that matches a local PD and uniform. Yeah, okay, bro. Okay.
Let's keep it clean. Let's keep it clean. But definitely though, like
sorry.
You know, because that's the first thing when the first guy said something about his background. He's a private military. You know, they said he owned a private security company. I'm like, oh no.
Here we go.
Yeah. Because I play a bunch of clips when I do these shows, so that was like 8 or 9 clips ago. So they all start to blend together after a while. But I remember that first time it came up, I'm like, oh, see, you can't tell me that this is just a random thing. Like, no, there's a lot of money went into this.
They're also setting the stage, Hood. They're setting the stage or whatever for your expectations. So, like now, when
Right.
it's
What if this is all fake? Right. Because how do we know? Look at this guy on the camera, right? And you tell me that you know for a fact the guy on the camera is the guy in the photo right now. And even the photo I have doesn't match the photo that was in other videos. Like that's an age gap between the photos running around right now. So how do we know anything?
Let me ask you guys a question, right? Here's the thing. When you think about military enforcement and equipped and all of that and blah, 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 do you think Tim Walz or do you think some right-wing guy?
Well, I mean, like the association is the right wing, but there's left wing militants as well. As a matter of fact, the left wing militants are the ones that were involved with the Gretchen Whitmore thing, even though that was agency set up.
Was that a left wing? But here's the thing. I'm not disagreeing with you, right, True Hype? What I'm saying is, remember, right? They said he's had this military agency on record. He was an assistant manager at Food Lion, right? They don't know whether he was on this board if he left. One thing I've noticed is when they try to confuse you, they want it to be left to your imagination. And when
one of the guys said on paper he was just a manager of a string of gas stations on one of the government documents. Like he really is some kind of shady guy, allegedly.
Right.
So here's the thing, right? The thing with PMCs, right? Private military contractors, right? And you said he owned a fucking private security company, right? The thing about I'm trying not to cuss. I'm sorry, man. Jesus. But my bad. But the thing about these guys, right, is, for instance, any sort of military background, any sort of police background, anything like that, right? You can become a PMC, okay? What makes a PMC is they get a contract to do something, be it legal or not legal, and they are paid money to go do that, right? A lot of these guys will go over to like African countries or Middle Eastern countries, and they'll run security. I put quotations around security around certain individuals, right? That they're paid to do so.
Literally this guy, Bumpkin. Literally this guy. We've already got confirmation from multiple sources. Literally this guy.
Right. So this is, and when we ask, I'll answer American Man's comment. When I think PMC, when I think private security firm, or when I think that, I don't think left or right. I think money. All right. I think he doesn't have a political agenda. He just follows whatever contract he was ordered to do. I think that he got a call from someone, right, a few months ago saying, I have a contract for you, no questions asked, and here is a shit ton of money.
Well, let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way, Bumpkin. Is the money left-leaning or right-leaning?
No.
It's apolitical because it's all about power.
No, money has an agenda. Money is speech too.
Yeah, but the agenda is not left or right.
As a government, money is speech. Every agenda is one way or another. And I'm asking, do you think the money is used to focus on to fuel a left wing or right wing cause?
Yeah, but it's all astroturf though. Like, because like Trump is the virus, right? And what the system is doing, just like the body would, it's trying to expel the virus, if you will. He stops all the businesses normal.
I agree with that.
If Trump is the thing, but if that's how you frame it, then that means the money behind something like this would be left wing in nature, because Trump is right wing. Everybody else is. from everybody else's standpoint, Trump is right wing. I mean, right wingers know he's not, but in the modern framework, Trump is the right wing hero coming to set everything right. And so the money that's against him would be left wing by nature.
Yeah, like the reason why I say it's not is because the whole two sides of the two wings of the same bird kind of argument, and it's like general actors that don't want any change; they want status quo. So anybody that challenges the system, wherever they come from, be it Bernie Sanders, which we saw what happened to him, or Orange Man, they're gonna do that. You even had this in the Libertarian Party. Shout out to Dr. Thunder, where
the reason
had.
I'm sorry. The reason why I say, it really is a left versus right kind of thing is that the system, as I loosely understand it, what you're trying to say is what we call the globalist system, global homo, right? And so it is definitely a system in place, but the system is not a nationalistic patriarchal thing. It's a top-down global hegemony thing.
Yeah, but they want to overthrow what was and then replace it with the new. So they will use anything with
really left wing thing, right?
Well, I mean, like that. I think the left wing in this regard or whatever is just wallpaper, because if they could achieve it going the right way or the right wing side of the house, they would do it that way too. It's just whatever means to an end.
Yeah, I see. True Hype said something that's correct, right? Is that Trump is the virus and the body just wants to extinguish the virus. And I also agree with Bumpkin, right? Bumpkin is correct in what he says. But the point that I'm making is that when you look at what's happening today, when you leave it to the American public, we're not talking about us. We're talking about the masses. The masses are going to say this is a right-wing thing. 2 Democrats, the day before the big protest, majority of people are going to say, oh, it was definitely done by a right-winger. And so, right. And so, yes, I agree. This guy probably is just a mercenary getting paid and carrying out his target, Bumpkin. I agree. I don't disagree with that. But when you look at last night it happened, and then today, no King protest, and it was 2 Democrats. Remember, what did they say, right? Never let a good opportunity go to waste.
This is true.
Let me venture a thought. I know Bumpkin, you got to get your thought in on this, but let me say this to the mercenary without a cause. Even mercenaries have causes, right? And when you look at the alleged history of this guy, all these NGOs, all these government places, there is no reason to assume he's not left wing ideologically. Just because you went to Afghanistan and you put in some wet work doesn't mean you're not a communist at heart.
Well, I agree with that piece. I'm not trying to say. I'm saying like the higher ups are apolitical, not the ground workers.
Yeah, no, wow. I just saw. Yeah, there's no King Day stuff going on in my local county that I work at today. So this is gonna be a fun night shift tonight, boys. If you guys don't know what I do for work,
hey, load them up and make sure everything is oiled up, ready to go.
Yeah, get in the goddamn holding cell. But no, like I said, I agree with you, American man. Like, for sure, no matter what proof comes out, they are going to skew this as a right-wing attack on like liberal political people within the United States. That's true. But I would like to, anyone that's questionable on this, I think Trump did it. I just got one question. Do you really think that the President of the United States would send in a PMC to do this of one of this level? Because there are about 1 million other PMC groups that would do this way more efficiently.
Yeah, it's sloppy. This is sloppy. This is like you're trying to leave behind clues type of deal. Like this is Scooby-Doo mystery like level.
Yes. Impersonating a police officer and rolling up and doing it like that, leaving your lights on to alert people of what's going on in the area, right? That doesn't happen. That happens in movies, but in reality, how this would have really happened would be he would have been sitting about 500 to 600 feet out, right, with some sort of rifle type, waiting for them to wake up, and instead of killing the spouse, would have also just like executed the target and then kept moving on to the other targets if there was other ones. That's how you would efficiently do it.
As strategies goes, it does seem like he could have done a better job planning.
No, but it wouldn't have been one person though. If this was like the president, it would be a team. They would coordinate. Say if it was 13 people, they would coordinate. It'd be 13 individuals.
Well, hold on. Let me stop. Let me have a little sympathy for the devil real quick, if I may. When was the last time any one of you guys shot 4 people in one night and got away clean?
Well, no,
no. But if you're trying to get away clean, though, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be one person. Not to mention, like you talking about deep pockets.
Let's not backseat driver this thing. Is all I'm saying.
But you talking about deep pockets, though. They could do it all efficiently if they wanted nothing to happen.
You guys have to remember, they're trying to make this look like a random, wild, sloppy right winger.
Right. That's
so. So it's going to be shoot this person, that person. So Bumpkin, you're not going to get the guy from 500 yards away, snipe through the morning cup of coffee and move on, right?
No, remember in Killer Elite, the whole point of the movie, I got a list of people that you got to take out, and I want it to look like an accident. But I also want you to record it so I know that you killed him. Like, it was a whole weird thing, but it's like, all right, well, sometimes people just have a list of things you got to do. You got to make it look a certain way.
Hey, you know what it reminds me of?
This is made to look like the sloppy right winger, the day before no Trump, no King protest.
Yeah.
Like, so this is what you're going to get. Like, it makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, but if you want somebody that's gonna plan, and it doesn't matter, like I don't know his like political leanings, but you remember the Beltway sniper?
I was just thinking about the Malvo guy the other day because I was watching Jack Reacher in that scene where in the opening scene of Jack Reacher, there's like a shooting where he shot a bunch of random people. But there was one person who was shot who was really a part of the whole plot of the movie, and that was the whole reason for the shooting. And the Malvo thing was that too. We thought he was out there shooting random people. Turns out he just hated his baby mama. Like he really hated his baby mama. This is pre-Manosphere too. Don't blame us for that at all.
Wait, hold on. This is actually that makes sense. Nah, this is a psyop. No, think about how poetic this is, right? No King protest, right? The day of the No King protest, right? A cop goes in to a left-wing political activist and political opponent's house and kills them. A cop.
Right.
That's poetic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Man. The whole thing glows.
All right. That glows heavy.
Hey, the
fact that it's a cop too. That's what's getting me. Okay.
But
that's why I say government.
There's so many parallels between different operations and all this stuff. And to say that, oh, this can't happen or whatever, or you're a conspiracy theorist, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But the fact that we know so much background on this guy, like right off the bat,
right?
And like the news typically like holds back, especially in the age where all these people got sued. Remember CNN just settled a lawsuit like a month ago, so they're gonna be real quick to be like cautious of who they give information out about. But they just laissez-faire about this one.
Let me see what else is happening in this clip.
Okay, so it was on 49th Avenue, North Minneapolis, in 14th and 49th North. In that area, there was a search that Minneapolis police helped conduct. Authorities were hopeful at that time that they would find him, but he was not found as a result of that search. And as of right now, he has not been caught.
And I know you're in the dark as much as we are on this, but did your law enforcement source have any insight into what that property was or its connection to him?
No, none of those details yet. We had received a tip that there was potentially a SWAT type situation.
Let me show you something. Even this picture is edited. Well, it's altered. Because I know this from experience. I can tell by the edging around his hairline that this picture was actually cropped from another picture. So they're not even releasing the original picture that this is from. Like, where was he and who was he with in this photo that you actually cropped him from?
Yes, sir. It's edited.
So this is full psyop.
There was potentially a SWAT type situation at that address. And it's unclear if it actually is an address or a vacant lot, because when I pull it pulls up as a vacant lot. But when I looked further into that through sources, it appeared that they were hopeful that they might be able to find him there, and they were unsuccessful. And so that's 49th Avenue North in North Minneapolis.
How old is it? They say this dude was like in his 50s.
Yeah, like the Las Vegas guy too, right?
Look at his gait right there, man. That doesn't look like an athletic gait. The dude's got like a little bit of
definitely
belly.
got a leg injury.
Yeah, look, a little bit of belly past his prime, and this dude was like on foot shooting at other cops. Come on, man.
He shot it out with the police and then got away on foot clean. Like, yeah, that is an interesting thing. I'm still looking for John Wick.
Also say, how many 60-year-old white men does this picture look like if we had to go by the numbers? We're talking about at least 10 million?
Yeah. It's like,
if not more.
We're supposed to be able to point this guy out?
I know. Be on the lookout for white people.
in Minnesota. White people in Minnesota, man. Come on.
Oh, nah, he ain't in Minnesota no more.
No,
but
he ain't in
Yeah, he's gone. Hey. Be on the lookout for white people tonight, okay? Just be on the lookout. Some white guy did something, and you should, just in case you bump into him, all right?
90% of the state's white. What are we talking about?
But Bumpkin, but look at him, Bumpkin. He's different from all the rest.
I gotta go buy a vape, man. I'll be right back. I'll stay on the line.
He looks like all the white guys in Minnesota and Nebraska.
Dude, that's why I'm telling you, like this. Come on, like, are you kidding me? It's at least 10 million white men. If you dress them in this, you'll be like, wait, what am I looking for? Come on.
You know what? I have a theory. Back in the day, like, think like Kennedy assassination. Think like the second Kennedy assassination, right? Sirhan is a great name. The PSYOP writers back then were good. You know, they were like, Hollywood, young, creative Jewish talent. You know what I mean? Like they were good writers back then. And now we've like outsourced our PSYOPs to an Indian call center. And the quality of the PSYOP has fallen off precipitously. Like, you notice a distinct drop in the quality of the PSYOP. And I think we outsourced it to India or something.
English ain't even their first language, man. They writing and got to get somebody to translate it.
Telling you, this is a worse PSYOP, and it's like they just keep getting worse and worse. Like even back in the Floyd thing, we were calling that out from the beginning too. Like this, nah. What was that white thing in his mouth? Hold up, stop the video, go back. There's a white thing in his mouth, and then he swallowed it. That was the fentanyl. Like the whole thing, it was lazy when you think about it. But people were, they were falling for it. They were ready for it now. And as time goes on, as we get further and further away from the summer of love, people are more and more adept at spotting the game. And this looks very, very fishy, man. You said the PSYOPs are now done by ChatGPT. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Well, I mean, ChatGPT would do a better job, man. I feel like ChatGPT would do a much better job.
You got to give it to Grok. Grok is a little bit better than ChatGPT, but Grok is kind of woke too. So I don't know, man. All the PSYOPs, you can't trust anybody now.
But as long as you insert a white man, ChatGPT will be all right. You know what I'm saying? They fully immersed in that.
there at least was information that they might be able to find him, and they were unsuccessful in that.
Yeah, and we'd heard SWAT vehicles were arriving on the scene. That all, yeah, it all sounds like that's what was unfolding not that long ago. That would have been what, like an hour ago or so?
Yep, that's right.
So this man still on the loose that you see on your screen, those pictures released by law enforcement. Lou, did you happen to see the picture?
So wait, why do you guys have these pictures, but the New York Post released this picture? I mean, it kind of could be the same guy, but 20 years ago.
Man, that looked like that boxer, man.
And
That
15
Klitschko.
He kind of looks like Eastern European a little bit. Could be. Who knows what his ethnicity really is?
Serbian.
Right.
This
Serbian hitman. Jesus Lord, we are.
I just want to point this out. Notice they have a cowboy hat picture, right? How many liberals wear like
quite a bit
Right,
actually.
because no, that's a regional thing. So don't be thrown by that. That's very regional.
Here's the thing, though. Do you associate liberals with cowboy hats?
Liberal white women. Liberal white
Regional,
women.
bro. I'm telling you, regions they have their things, so don't necessarily be thrown.
Hey, Nashville is right up the street from me, man. Like I'm telling you.
That they're
Why does it feel like what? Hold up, real quick. Why does it feel like they blew their load way too soon? It's just like it's supposed to be the 14th, right? So just like, why does it feel like they blew their load way too soon?
Oh, because they're trying to hide it. Because here's the thing. What they're trying to do is look at what these right-wing Republicans did, and now all of a sudden hide it behind the No King protest. That's why. You're not going to hear about this after tomorrow.
I think somebody's hand got forced. It just seems a little bit way too weird. Something doesn't seem. Hey, look, it may be him that he found something out, and then he ended up just. I don't know. I don't know. Like it just seems a little bit way too weird. The way that it all kind of like seems like it plays out just seems a little bit way too weird. And like this was something that should have been probably like at the end of the night or something like that, where it would have had more impact than the beginning of the morning. This seems a little bit way too weird.
When normies spot like weird inaccuracies and inconsistencies in the story, you know the psyop's really not as good.
Because if it was planned, right, which I'm assuming this was something that was something was supposed to happen this weekend, right? But like the fact that it happened way too early and way out of like this wouldn't have the maximum effect if it would have happened like in midday. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can tell you guys,
or even during like Trump's like parade.
Well, you have to catch them when they're vulnerable. Once the day's around, you never know.
Okay, guys, do some research, all right? I can tell you something that's supposed to happen right now. I guarantee you there's going to be a bomb explosion tonight. All right, check it out, right? Look up Grand Forks, North Dakota, bomb, all right? Literally 2 days ago, prior to this protest that is happening currently as I speak, there were 2 men from Fargo, North Dakota that were traveling up to Grand Forks, North Dakota to participate in the protest. They had an explosive device in their car.
Well, the right wing pundits, they're all saying sleeper cells from Iran. So like that's the new like programming that they're saying.
Don't trust the conservative ink either. They're all kind of bots.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying like they're all saying exactly the same thing. I mean, and within the hour of each other. You know what I'm saying?
No matter what happens, I do not support war with Iran.
No, I don't either. And look, I'm gonna step out. I just came in here just to shout out everybody in the chat and fuck with everybody in the chat and everything that you guys are doing and shit. But I got company over. But I just wanted to. I couldn't hold it in. Yeah,
appreciate your support, by the way. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, everybody be safe. Like I wouldn't go out and be around crowds, you know, for the foreseeable future. You know what I mean? Just everybody just be safe, and we'll figure it out. Eventually, it'll come out.
Liberal areas.
Oh, sure.
Dude, avoid all areas, bro. My place is not a liberal area. There's 2,000 people protesting right now.
Yeah, that's wild.
Right. Shout out everybody. I'm out. Peace out. Later.
Let me play this clip some more.
Picture of him released by the FBI where it looks like he's wearing the mask.
Yes, and I'm getting some clarification on that right now to confirm that that picture was taken by a security camera this morning, as it appears, and if that is a mask that he's wearing at the time that he goes in. A couple other interesting details about him. His wife and he own a security company. On the webpage for that security company, you see an SUV that their company owns for their security, which resembles a law enforcement vehicle with a light on top, very similar. And they have lived in Shakopee in the past, Inver Grove Heights, and in 2023 they bought a home in Green Isle, Minnesota, and that's where we've been reporting the searches have been ongoing.
Oh, that's interesting.
But why do you know for a fact it was him? Like, was it the car? Did you link the car to this guy? Because that's the only other thing that you could have possibly linked as far as we know so far.
We saw the Shakopee property and that he'd owned it, but it appears he potentially sold that and bought the one in Green Isle, and that's why they both were listed.
Lou, have you heard any?
He in between there, he actually lived in Inver Grove Heights as well.
Okay.
So he, after around in 2023, he moved from Inver Grove Heights, Alameda Avenue there, to Green Isle.
Lou, I hate to ask you a question that maybe you don't know the answer to. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but has anyone confirmed for you where his wife is today? Do we know her location?
No, we do not, and I've been trying to reach her as well. Her phone is currently off, and I have received no reports of where she's located right now. She is involved with their security company. She's like the president CEO of it.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that she's in any way involved with this, but it also doesn't mean
absolutely
she's
not.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
That does look like a cop car.
I mean, but you're gonna plan this event and then have everything connected to you. That's too sloppy, man.
Right. Especially for a guy who's been, in all of these overseas arenas. You've been a private military contractor for the majority of your adult life, apparently, and you're going to go on an op and use your own personal vehicle. Oh, I dressed it up like a cop car. Oh, yeah. Come on.
Not just your own personal vehicle, your own personal vehicle tied to your business that your wife's the president of. Nah, this is way too sloppy. No one would be this sloppy.
Like
no
when
one
you
would
have
be this sloppy.
that vehicle is literally on like government records now because it's tied to a paramilitary company or a security company or whatever, right? So all those vehicles get like a special marking because you're not just a regular citizen. We got to know who these guys are in particular, and so like the whole thing just doesn't look right at this point.
No, yeah, it does not. This is extremely sus, and it sucks that people died for this. It really does.
Well, so that's the thing. All right, the two people who died. This is the one thing about it that kind of is an obvious motive, but maybe not really. They just voted against a major bill to like cut off funding for illegal immigrants in Minnesota. Yep. And that angle of it too kind of reeks of corruption, and God knows what kind of people will do for a lot of money, right? You don't even necessarily have to be some like global plot. You could have just been messing with some guy's money.
Yep. Like, so a contractor's not getting paid now because they won't have the guaranteed contracts. I mean, that alone be enough. Like, because
I just happen to know a guy who can do this kind of thing, right? I golf with a guy who does this sort of thing, right?
Did you play the video of her speaking? The one senator lady, the one that died, like her trembling, her voice trembling after she like canceled the vote.
I did, and yeah, she did. I mean, the caption on the video is she looked afraid, but it's easy to say that now. Who knows why she was crying in the moment?
Well, there's a longer version of that video to where like I watched like both of them, and I can't remember which one you played. But the longer version,
it's a 2-minute video I played.
Okay, maybe I just popped in like as you were playing part of it. But she did look distraught, and then she was like, "Yeah, they're gonna be mad at me," and like she had that wavery tone in her voice.
Yeah, I think
so. The thing is, girls crying in and of itself doesn't like. Say that again, please.
I think she was just afraid of her constituents more because she understood what that meant of her constituents.
Right.
I don't think she foresaw this. I think that was more of my constituents. We're in a very liberal town. They're going to be upset with me. That's what I think.
Right. And so like she's a girl. She's a woman. People are going to be mean to her. It makes her upset. Like, it's easy to connect those dots. So I don't know if I would necessarily think like, oh, she was under a threat. Because like if somebody threatened her for real, she's going to vote. She's not going to stand tall. She's going to do whatever they told her to do.
There was another video as well. There's another person talking about she basically like and I'm paraphrasing, but basically she backstabbed us or whatever. So like who knows? Like when you talk about city council meetings, even man, it can get kind of gully in them joints, man. So like, hey,
And that's where a lot of the corruption really happens too, because like when you're at the federal level, you got to be a lot more clever about things. But on the city and state level, like all kinds of dirty things happen.
And the way they be talking to each other, sometimes you be like, oh man, it's like Jerry Springer up in here, man.
Yeah. There was this one black guy who was like going viral for all his city council meetings. He just died recently too, but he was always talking crazy to people.
Are you talking about the guy that? You talking about the guy that Phil sometimes plays during the beginning of his shows? Is that what you talking about?
I think that might be the guy. It might be because he's funny as hell too, and he's not like a liberal, nothing like that too. That's what makes it even better. And you know what? We've been talking about political violence this whole day. Let me pull up something because the political violence of the left isn't just a personal thing. Back during the lockdowns, there was something that happened in Minnesota under Eric Mays. Thank you. That's the guy, Eric Mays. Rest in peace,
that's
bro.
him.
But during the lockdowns, we learned that the left will take their insane desire for violence and apply it from a governmental position. And so this is video of, I guess, his National Guard firing paintballs at people to enforce the house arrest. Because, in Minnesota, the virus was just jumping from house to house. It was in the air.
Yeah, this was during 19.
They just keep coming.
The vid-19.
Go inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get inside! Get in your house now! Let's go! Light him up! Go inside now! Get in the house!
Get in, get in, get in, get in, get in, get in. Get in.
Oh, God, that hurt. You good?
Are you okay?
Right on the fucking crotch.
Are you okay? You got hit?
Oh man, that's funny, man. It's jacked up, man, but it's funny.
Right in the crotch.
At least it was paintballs.
Oh, at least it was a paintball. They were gonna kill your cooter. That would have been awful.
Even the pepper balls, man, would have hurt. Oh,
Yo,
dang,
I know.
Guys, the projectiles that they're shooting in LA. Oh my God, they're shooting like they're like, it's like putting a rock in a gun, bro. Those things are huge. They're firing gigantic. It's like a little, like the small size of cans of vegetables. All right, like like tomato paste sometimes comes in a little small can. It's like not like the standard size can of vegetables. It's like this little teeny tiny thing, like a big D battery or something. They're firing those size projectiles at people right now, bro.
What's the one joint people used to play all the time? Now they play pickleball. Was it racquetball?
Handball or racquetball?
Yeah, so those non-lethals. Some of them had like that same size. They kind of had that same consistency, but they're way more dense. So like, man, that dude's traveling like all kinds of crazy speeds at you, man.
Bro.
Yeah, they're really fun. I mean, they're really bad. No, yeah, they're really bad.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a perspective kind of thing, right? Depends on which side of the gun you're on.
Hey, listen, man. Nothing feels as good as a riot happening in a jail, and you're the CEO with the pepper ball gun. Okay, all right.
I bet it does, because you don't really have that psychological trauma of I just shot this guy. Was it right? How do I feel? You don't have to bear that. It's like, all right. Bad guy, sit down. Oh, look at him sitting down.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna name the jail, but there was a specific riot that happened a few years ago, and it was hilarious. The sheriff's office was actually called in, and they walked in with like actual shotgun beanbags to do like actual riot control, right? And it's a double decker jail, right? In this certain pod. So what happened was you had the SOs go in through the top, right? And then the SOs go in through the bottom day room, right? And there was both 6 stacked on both, and every single one of them had fucking beanbag shotguns, all right? And it was not an actual slaughter, but it was straight up like, they're like, all right, get on the ground, and we're not getting on the ground, and the first person that said that got a beanbag directly to the chest. And then that dude dropped, and everyone else in that unit was like, yep, on the ground. Everyone complied after that.
Yep, it only takes one. Like I remember,
it only takes one.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that Brevard County, Florida guy talking about you will get bit by our lovely dogs. I've seen somebody get bit by a dog by like resisting, and dude, that's not fun, man. I'm like, damn, man, why didn't you just stop? Why didn't you stop, man? The dog wouldn't have bit you if you had stopped. Whatever.
Yeah. Very familiar with pepper ball guns. They're fun. They're basically like a.
Let me share a brief clip with everybody. I love this line. Well, this exchange.
Rico. Pay attention.
Sorry, Mr. Ratchak.
Let's sum up. This year we explored the failure of democracy, while the social scientists brought our world to the brink of chaos. We talked about...
I actually got into the lore of Starship Troopers, how their government collapsed a couple of times before they landed on this supreme right-wing fascism of Starship Troopers. Great stuff.
It's extremely based.
Took control and imposed the stability that has lasted for generations since. You know these facts, but have I taught you anything of value this year? Why are only citizens allowed to vote?
It's a reward. What the Federation gives you for doing federal service.
No. Something given has no value.
And you know what? Actually, watching this scene, you notice that the teacher Ratchak, he's an amputee because he served or whatever happened. I assume he was in the military in some conflict, but you don't know. He just served, and they make a point to put those guys in the front of like the people who are volunteering to be a citizen, because they want you to see like, no, you might have to pay a real cost. You're not just signing up for a vacation.
Look, when you vote, you are exercising political authority. You're using force. And force, my friends, is violence. The supreme authority from which all other authority is derived.
Violence is the supreme authority from which all other authority is derived. And, we're talking about left-wing violence today, and it's particularly why the left is drawn to violence, why the left seems to be particularly attracted to political violence, while at the same time, the left wing would bill itself as being anti-violent. We're peaceful protesters. We don't like to see, we're non-violent. Remember when the left was anti-war and all that? And the reality is, though, as much as the left claims to be anti-violent, anti-war, and all this stuff, when confronted, they will resort to violence almost instantly. This is a shot from a protest the other day. Some young lady, some cute little mixed girl, got met with left-wing violence.
light go in her eye.
Are you bending over on me on a minor? Bro, on a minor? Why are you bending over on a minor? Do you touch kids, bitch? Do you touch kids, bitch? Go crazy! No fascist USA! I love fascism!
Well, and that's why I kind of like this girl, because, you know, she's screaming in a crowd of people, I love fascism. So she instantly caught my eye.
I love fascism! I love ICE! Deport them all!
She's young, she's healthy, she loves fascism.
Oh man, if only she knew, man. If only
If
she
only
knew.
she was fully white, I'd be in her DMs right now. I need to stop.
This isn't for you, Bumpkin. Anyway, more left-wing violence. Apparently there was let me see what this intro says here. Far left Washington University instructor gets relieved of all teaching responsibilities after arrest footage leaks. Patrick Mahoney was seen on camera beating up an Indian American student in a MAGA hat prior to his visit to the police.
I remember this. I remember this.
Nice to meet you.
You're not fucking with me, right? Like, you said
I don't know how else official.
Okay, yeah. Andre. You said Andre.
Saint Andre. Yeah.
So what's the deal, man?
So what happened up on the hill tonight?
Okay, so I walked down. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Was he there?
He was there, right? So I walk down. I see old boy walk around, right?
Ooh.
He's got. I've seen this guy.
And what's really interesting about this clip is the brazenness of it. Like, you expect law enforcement to just understand. Like, feel me, bro. Like, he was wearing a MAGA hat. Like, what do you expect, bro?
Okay. I know he's like fucking like right wing dude. Okay. He's got a fucking like Make America Great Again hat. Okay. Right. Pardon my French. Like, I'm not gonna actually take your hat off.
But no, don't touch it.
Okay, sure. Probably that's probably not good.
No, it's not.
But for the thing, I like grabbed his hat, threw it, and I said, like, go get it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, you know, you're fucking wearing that hat. You're fucking, you want it to fucking, you want someone to fucking look at it, right? I didn't fucking hit him.
This is why I be trying to keep the profanity down, because the clips be dangerous enough.
Didn't fucking, you know, like, body check him, anything like that. Took the hat, threw it, right? I was like, that's gonna be the end of it. Fucking, he's gonna pick up his hat. He's been gone, right? Do my thing. I threw it, and then I like heard him say something, turned around, and old boy like fucking came at me. Fucking, I don't know to what extent he hit me or what he body checked me. I don't know what he did, right? He can corroborate, right? Yeah. But like he came at me, right? This is the first time where like I touched his hat, full. I admit to touching his hat, right? I didn't hit him, right? Like I didn't do anything to him.
It's still simple as
just technically right. It's simple assault. You touch my hat is kind of you hit me. It may not be you punching me, but it's equivalent of you hitting me.
As soon as I turn around, he hit me, right?
How did he hit you?
I honestly like cannot recall exactly how it happened. It was either a body check or like a grab you. Sorry, like,
you're
sorry
doing,
that I'm like, yeah,
you're doing a lot, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna like back up
Thank
from
you,
you.
thank you.
I don't know how to explain it with you without like doing it, you know, like to my boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, Hood, this is a college professor.
Violent. I know, right? He just can't help himself.
He can't explain his actions.
There's something wrong with these people, right? They just can't. That's really the thing. That's why I wanted to kind of show that video real quick, and I don't even want to play the whole thing. But there's a weird mindset with again, imagine yourself as the hero, and so anything you do is valid and justified and heroic, and so he sees himself as the hero. And now, because he's obviously going to jail, he lost all his teaching responsibilities after that. You find out, well, maybe I'm not the hero. And that's why that meme from Monty Python's is always popping up. You know, are we the baddies? Like, yeah, you guys actually are the orcs. You're not the elves. You're not the pillars of this great high civilization. Turns out, elf culture, right-wing fascism. Yeah,
hey,
who knew?
These are the same people that keep on telling me in real time that they're on the right side of history. I'm like, Who says that? Who says that in the moment in history that they're on the right side of history?
Again, but you just know you're the hero, and nobody can convince you otherwise. You just know in the bottom of your heart, down to the core of your soul, that you're a hero. It is effectively religious capture. You are in a cult. That's why we call the left a cult, left-wing cults and whatnot. But it is akin to a religious thing. This is why I consider the concept of religion as we as think about the world and how things work. I'm like, even if you are uncomfortable with some of the more magical aspects of it, it's still a better grounding than to be whatever it is leftism believes. It's just a more practical human application.
Yeah, Nietzsche touches on this. When Nietzsche says God is dead and we killed him, he's not expressing a great triumph in that. You know what I mean? He's expressing like this is a bad thing. It's like when you killed the concept of God and you replace humanity as God, you are just going to put humans in the humans in the concept that they are gods themselves. They will commit atrocities because of it. Like this entire idea, like it is a cult. It is a cult based off of science. It is a cult based off of dogma, and it's literally the same thing. It's just unrefined. It's all it is. It's very, very unrefined.
What's spooky about like the left is you talk about cults, but then there is the occult, right? Because there are parallels and ties to really deep, dark, ancient stuff here. So like when we're talking about I think the French Revolution was really that first period where we kind of killed God, so to speak.
You are so ridiculously based. How much reading have you done? That's a never mind. Go ahead.
Not a lot of reading. Not a lot of reading.
Are you sure?
Hear me out. Not a lot of reading because who has time to sit down and read books? But I listen to a lot of things as I'm about my day. I don't really listen to a lot of music anymore. I have my headphones on all the time, and people might think I'm listening to some hip hop or whatever because I'm a big black guy, and I'm literally just catching up on history. But
so yeah, you are right. French Revolution. That's what it stems from.
Well, it even goes beyond that, though. That's kind of what I mean about the occult. Like there are things that are very deep, and the idea of overthrowing. Well, not even that. The idea of the worship of man is actually kind of like the two parallel religious themes that go back so far in human antiquity. So there's always been a sort of Christian type of worship where like there's a one God, the father of everything. But what the occult is, and what a lot of like religious occultism kind of boils down to, it goes back to like essentially some, the first tyrannical kings of ancient antiquity who were Kronos devouring his children and all that. There is a theme that's been kept up for all that time that kind of still extends to today. And so while we're talking about the left-wing attachment to violence and all that, and why so many left-wing people get caught up in all these mysticisms and new age religions, and they kind of tap into these old things, and God knows the stuff we talk about with Hollywood and all the stuff they're up to. But it all does kind of fall under a really dark umbrella when you start to really, well, I don't read like you accuse me of, Bumpkin, but I do listen. I do pay attention. And there's a lot going on under the surface that the average normie has no idea what we're in for. This is why we want the French Revolution, because the French Revolution was so much darker than we ever learned about in high school.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you claim to be a black F word, right? Can I say the fascist word? Can I say the fascist word? I don't know. You claim to be a black fascist.
I say it.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I am also a would you say a white fascist, but I'm just a fascist. Our ideology stems from the French Revolution, and it goes back even farther than that. Okay. The real preface of this, right? It was the Enlightenment. Okay. The Enlightenment, where they wanted to tear down all of the old world and build a new, right? I.e., kings, monarchies, all of that, to sort of rebuild a democratic system or a republic, whatever, right? That specifically was the purposes, right? And you can sort of look at like, because monarchy, I hate monarchy, by the way, not for the reason that you think I hate monarchy for, but monarchy, it wasn't like a real economic system, right? It was whatever is the best for the kingdom and for the people, right? That's what they did. Like, you had monarchies that would absolutely involve themselves in the economy all day long, right? But now, after the Enlightenment, and where you started having like post-modern Enlightenment, building these liberal democracies, you kind of had this idea of liberalism based on solely economic values. And I think that's where it really stems from, right? Whereas like fascism rejected that wholeheartedly. They kind of wanted to revert sort of back or build a new system on the old pre-Enlightenment ideas that a economic system should work for the people, not the people work for the economic system. Whereas liberals, and I'm saying liberals not as liberals that we know today, like classical liberals,
like classical liberal, like 90s,
both
even
left and
before
right,
then.
yeah, both left and right. They believe that the people should work for the economic apparatus. So that's where you get terms like capitalism, communism, two sides of the same coin. That's you get like stuff like that, because at the root of it all, it is genuinely the same thing, right? It's the people working for an economic system or a certain economic ideology, be it capitalism or communism. Whereas on the side, on the opposite spectrum of that, you have a system that makes the economic system work for the people, build a better system for the people, right? So, sorry, rant over.
No, it's all good.
And I was gonna just add to that, and let me just say thank you. Shout out to Big Time with the $10 super chat. He says this was the argument presented by the left against Rittenhouse. You walked into a riot with a pew pew. You should expect to be disarmed. It's the great defense. Why did you wear that skirt? I'm sorry, we kind of moved way beyond what you were commenting on, but the thing about what you were just saying, Bumpkin, though, is I think of Germany. And when you talk about like capitalism, communism, and how people accuse them of being the same sides of a coin, there is an interesting kind of misnomer that happens with Germany. And I feel like I'm sliding into losing monetization on this video, but we're hitting it. I want to talk about this. I have to say this, even as delicately as I'm going to approach it, right? The German government of that era, everybody knows what I mean. The German government of that era, they kind of approached the capitalism thing quite differently. First of all, they threw off their financial shackles. They literally locked up some of their famous bankers, that big famous name of the banking family, and they approached the economic situation like you just described, Bumpkin. The economics of the nation should be constructed in a way that it actually benefits the majority of the average citizenry. And that's what made him so loved. This is why German German productivity kind of spiked, and they were able to create this mechanized military under the nose of Europe, because he unleashed an economic dynamism that was really impossible under their previous leadership. And the thing about it, why I said it's a misnomer, is they're socialists. And right now, socialism itself is a dirty word in America. It's, ill, nobody wants to be a socialist. But technically, he's the guy. But his version of it isn't a global homo type of thing. He has nothing in common with the modern liberal world order. And so he did the thing that kind of disproved liberalism. And this is why he's so hated.
Well, I mean, part of the main reason, a lot of systems or whatever don't work is because the humans. System's only as good as the people implement it, right?
And this is why a lot of people, a lot of the far right people consider themselves monarchists too, because there is an argument that you can't trust the people, quote unquote, broadly speaking. Like, for example, I heard Andrew Wilson the other day. There was a clip going around about the voting age. He was just debating some girl because you know how the whatever channel, and so they were talking about the voting age, and he was saying this was his point, like how old do you have to be president? And I think it's like 40, 45, something like that.
No, it's
And
like
he asked the girl
35.
why. 35, okay. And he asked the girl why. And she says, well, because, you probably don't have much life experience at that point, right? And so Wilson's like, so why should you be voting at 18?
And then she went to disenfranchisement.
Yeah, but the logic the question poses a sort of logic that it's sound. If you can't be president up until that point, why should you even be voting about who should be president or anything for that matter?
If you remember that clip though, Hood, he was smiling as soon as she said it, and she knew she walked into that one.
Right. Well, he knows what he's doing. He's really good in that role.
Yeah, like what's really funny is like we're having this conversation, and I wasn't even like stating a position, but I got into a back and forth today on X, and I said that, hey, I've even heard some compelling arguments about monarchy. And then all these people try to jump on me talking about, oh, you believe in kings? There's never a reason to have a king. And I'm like, so the current system you have,
why
with
did
all
it work for so long then?
Yeah. And then it's like, well, what if you had a king? Like the chick actually asked me, she's like, what if you had a king that made you use pronouns? Then you overthrow them. How many rules have been overthrown throughout history? You at least know exactly where the buck stops.
Right. That's in the extreme with anything, right? You overthrow them, right? That's always an extremity, but that's kind of the point. In this modern era, we have no idea where the buck stops, right? Is it some random NGO? Is it a nameless government agency like the CIA? Is it the IMF? Is Tom Cruise really a secret agent? Like, we don't know. But, under a monarchy, at least listen, king, if you don't do something about this, then you're obviously a part of it. So what's up, King? You're gonna do something what?
Yeah.
Like at least
what I heard
understand that basic simplicity.
You know what I heard it described as? You have 1,000 different fiefdoms, and every one is its own monarch on itself and in the bureaucracy, if you will. And I'm like, that's worse. Cause like now you like what happened to Elon Musk during the whole lockdowns, right? Where you have one person, he gets everybody else on board, but you have one person that he forgot to go to first. That's like county level, and it's like, no, you can't open your factory because you didn't come and ask me nicely.
Let me add one last thing to this conversation, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. I don't really want a king, but again, I've heard great argument. Well, not great. I've heard arguments that make it understandable, right? There are arguments that are pro monarchy, and I get that, right? I'm good with a constitutional monarchy. I think though, I'm not a monarchy, but a constitutional republic rather. But constitutional monarchy actually is what I guess Britain kind of sort of was or is at this point. Definitely was. But because we're talking about fascism and the real common thread with the definition of fascism, because it gets abused. People call you anybody if you go to church on Sunday, you might be a fascist, right? The definition gets stretched so far, it's a dirty word for no reason, and there's a reason for that. But the main issue is that you want a more robust authoritative government that is specifically looking out for the future and well-being of the people, whomever that people may actually be. And you need a governmental figure at the head that can actually exercise a certain amount of political will to achieve certain goals, right? So like politically speaking, there's no solution for drag queen story hour because there are too many people who have this stupid idea that it's somehow healthy and right and good for the children to be exposed to that sort of thing. Whereas under, the rules of Germany back in the day, it would just simply not be allowed. And that's why when we live in this kind of weird left-wing political extreme reality, Weimar America, as people call it, it seems as though there is no other solution to some of these issues. How do you actually contend with the thousands of people, maybe millions of people in this country at this point, who think that Luigi Mangione is a righteous hero? They need to see examples of why they're wrong and the folly of their stupid ways.
But the problem is they won't, though, Hood. Because
they could see it. I promise you, examples can be made.
No,
Bullying
they could.
does work.
They could, but because their ideology is so like almost religiosity or whatever, just ultra religion to them, they won't see the parallels from something that's exactly the same on the other side.
Well, no. Again, force is the ultimate problem solver. And we simply haven't really applied the appropriate amount of force. And that's kind of why, people on the far right look at it like, well, sooner or later, you're just going to have to do the thing. So, talk to me when you get to that conclusion.
I don't know, man. It's just funny, man. Like, it seems like I have these conversations like all the time, man, where I'll bring up other things. I even brought up the JD Vance thing about I didn't say cat ladies or whatever. I said miserable people that don't necessarily have a future stake in society. I was like, shouldn't people with a future stake in society, be looked at, in a more favorable viewpoint? And then the person that I was having the back and forth with said I was advocating for a caste system. I'm like, these people are ridiculous, man.
Yeah. The other thing I think that needs to be added to this political theory that we're discussing right now is a religiosity. I make no secret that even though I have my issues with the church, I lean heavily toward the Christian construct of morality. I was talking about Starship Troopers a lot. If you actually follow like the movie series of Starship Troopers, there is a point, I think in the last Starship Troopers movie, or maybe the second to last, they actually adopted like Christianity for their empire. It was really, really poetic to consider how it all went down. But you need that little invisible glue, it seems, because we are people. We are what we are, and there's a reason why every group of people has their own religious system, and so you kind of have to have something to tie it all together, and that's what's missing.
Have you ever gotten and I hadn't really been into it, but I kind of got into a little bit of Warhammer. They have a weird kind of political religious thing going. They like, even on the religious side of their lore, it's like kind of political. It's really interesting, to say the least.
Well, because ultimately, if you actually do think about it, because I do this kind of content from time to time, where I deeply think about certain issues, I suppose once you've really thought through a lot of the layers of particular issues, you have to accept a particular reality about the human condition. And we are a religious, a spiritual creature. That is the thing that perhaps makes us most unique of all other animals or all other things that exist in creation, right? This is what makes us special, is because we have the concept of worship and divinity. And I don't know that any other thing does that, no other living thing does that. This is kind of a mark of, sentient high intelligence or something, but that's what makes us us, right? It's because not only do we think, not only do we reason, there are plenty of animals that think and reason. Some animals even have, a certain self-awareness, right? But we actually contemplate the divine. The prospect in and of itself is a remarkable thing if you really think about it. Like, the very question, it's not just that I am here, It is why am I here?
But
Anyway,
therein lies the rub with a bunch of people that have like kind of shed the God gene, if you will. They've tried to shed that, but it needs to be replaced and it needs to be satiated by something.
and that's why everybody's like weird and gay now, because they replaced it with the weird gay religion. But we're gonna wrap this thing up, man. Thanks for hanging out, bro. It's been kind of a long show. I really need to get off this mic. I feel like we touched on a lot of stuff tangentially, but we are entering some new times. We are definitely in a brave new world in American culture. The political assassinations have begun. Hide your family, hide your wives, hide your kids. They out here politically assassinating people, y'all. We out of here, man.
Aspiring to be patriarchs like what white men have, that isn't freedom. That isn't going to help anybody. It's certainly not going to help black people.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.